Shubham Kurutvam Kalyanam, Arogyam Dhan Sampada, Shatru Buddhi Vinashaya, Deep Jyoti Namostute. Requesting Sri Rajarshi Nandi ji to light up the Deepak, which is symbolic of leaving behind darkness, moving towards knowledge, and seeking the blessing of the divine as we start with today's seminar on Devata Anubhuti. Young and budding minds are the best for inviting the blessing of Almighty. This we have all heard, but today we shall witness it live on stage. Join me in welcoming 10-year-old Virat Dwivedi, who will sing today the powerful Kal Bhairav Ashtakam as composed by Sri Adi Guru Shankaracharya ji.
शेखरं कृपाकरं नारदादियोगिवृन्दवन्दितं दिगम्बरं काशिकापुरादिनाथ कालभैरवं भजे। भानुकोटिभास्वरं भवाब्धितारकं परं नीलकण्ठमीप्सिताटुदायकं त्रिलोचनं कालकालमम्बुजाक्षमक्षशूलमक्षरं काशिकापुरादिनाथ कालभैरवं भजे। शूलदण्डपाशदण्डपाणिमादिकारणं श्यामकायमाद्यदेवमक्षरं निरामयं भीमविक्रमं प्रभुं विचित्रताण्डवं प्रियं काशिकापुरादिनाथ कालभैरवं भजे। मुक्तिदायकं प्रशस्तचारुविग्रहं भक्तवत्सलं स्थितं समस्तलोकविघ्नं विनिक्वणं मनोज्ञहिं किङ्किणीलसत्कटिं काशिकापुरादिनाथ कालभैरवं भजे। पाशमोचकं सुशर्मदायकं विभुं स्वर्णवर्णशेषपाशशोभिताङ्गमण्डलं काशिकापुरादिनाथ कालभैरवं भजे रत्नपादुका प्रभाभिरामपादयुग्मकं नित्यमद्वितीयमिष्टदैवतं निरञ्जनं मृत्युदर्पनाशनं करालदंष्ट्रमोक्षणं काशिकापुरादिनाथ कालभैरवं भजे अट्टहासभिन्नपद्मजाण्डकोशसन्ततिं दृष्टिपातनष्टपापजालमुग्रशासनम् अष्टसिद्धिदायकं कपालमालिकाधरं काशिकापुरादिनाथ कालभैरवं भजे भूतसङ्गनायकं विशालकीर्तिदायकं काशीवासी लोकपुण्यपापशोधकं विभुं नीतिमार्गकोविदं पुरातनं जगत्पतिं काशिकापुरादिनाथ कालभैरवं भजे कालभैरवाष्टकं पठन्ति ये मनोहरं ज्ञानमुक्तिसाधनं विचित्रपुण्यवर्धनं शोकमोहदैन्यलोभकोपदापनाशनं प्रयान्ति कालभैरवं गृहसन्निधिं नराध्रुवं काशिकापुरादिनाथ कालभैरवं भजे कालभैरवं भजे कालभैरवं भजे वाराणस्यां भैरवो देवो संसार भयनाशनम् अनेक जन्म कृतं पापं दर्शनेन विनश्यति
नमः पार्वती पते हर हर महादेव।
Thank you for the amazing performance, Virat. Now I invite Shri Harsh Pandey to come on stage and share his thoughts on today's seminar on Devata Anubhuti and the close affiliation of the two organizations dedicated for Sanatan.
गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ध्यानमूलं गुरुमूर्ति पूजामूलं गुरुपदं मन्त्रमूलं गुरुवाक्यं मोक्षमूलं गुरुकृपा। शिवो गुरुः शिवो देवा शिवबन्धु शरीरिणम् शिव आत्मा शिवो जीव शिवादयन्तरकिञ्चनः। बिना सदा शिवं यो हि संसारं तरतुमेच्छति समूढो हि महापापी शिवद्वेषेण संशयः। महादेव महादेव महादेवेति यो भवे एकेन मुक्तिमाप्नोति द्वाभ्यां शम्भुरिणी भवे। वाराणस्यां भैरवो देव संसारभयनाशनम् अनेकजन्मकृतं पापं स्मरणेन विनश्यति। A very good evening to one and all present here. I welcome you all to the holy city of Varanasi, to the city of Vishwanath, to the city of Ganga, city of Bhairav. which always embraces everyone with open heart. My heartfelt gratitude to Honorable Rajarshi Nandi ji, who agreed to take out his time and share his experiences, which will help us all excel in our different level of spiritual journeys. Sir, it's my pleasure to share the stage with you. I wish to share an experience when I met sir for the first time. It was Makar Sankranti, 15th of January of this year, and we were supposed to meet for the early morning Mangala Aarti at the temple, which takes place around 3 a.m. in the morning. So just when we went to open the gates on the morning of the temple, I saw sir for the first time, and he was surrounded by 2-3 black dogs, which sir was also very joyfully embracing. And that was the first time I got an essence of the Bhairav Tattva, which is present in sir, and in many ways I am very grateful to the Almighty that I have in any way the Sharan and guidance. And since then, both our organizations, the Kashi Archan Foundation and the Kamakhya Bhairav Upasak Foundation, we have come a long way. Every month doing seva with the sankalp of Sanatan Dharma Utthan, not for any individual person. Ved Pathshala donations, supporting the Ved Pathshala students, and organizing yagnas with the special sankalp of Raksha of Sanatan Dharma, with the Utthan of Sanatan Dharma, Jagriti of Sanatan Dharma. Apart from this, also certain very significant offerings being made in our Kal Bhairav temple. Firstly, the silver khappar, a very special pot which is dear to Bhagwan, in which the alcohol or the favorite naivedya is offered to Lord. The first episode of Khappar Seva is mentioned in our Puranas when Bhagwan Kal Bhairav went to Vaikuntha Dham, to the place of Bhagwan Mahavishnu, after the Brahmhatya dosh. He was struggling, he was there going across the universe just to get rid of the Brahmhatya dosh. When he went to Vaikuntha Dham, Bhagwan Vishnu could from a distance observe that Sakshat Shiva Swarup has come to his place. If you observe the Swarup of Kal Bhairav ji, if you have ever went to his temple or if you visited our temple also, if you closely observe the Swarup of Bhagwan, he is Sakshat Shiva Avatar, not just for the sake of saying, but the physical appearance also. We worship Bhagwan Shiva in the form of a Shivalinga, but Kal Bhairav, I say, is a walking Shiva. If you observe his Swarup, Trineth, third eye is there on forehead. Chandrama is there adorned, carrying a Trishul. Ganga is flowing from Jatas and is having additionally one thing, which is a dand to both punish and reward the devotees in proportion to their punya and pap. So when Bhagwan Kal Bhairav went to the Vaikuntha Dham, Bhagwan Vishnu could observe from a clear distance that Sakshat Shiva Avatar in all his Swarup has come to the Dham, and Bhagwan Vishnu offered his Dandavat Pranam to Bhagwan Kal Bhairav. And Mahalakshmi Devi, the eternal consort of Bhagwan Vishnu, she offered Dakshina in the Khappar of Bhagwan at that time. So from that time, the Khappar Seva is supposed to be the highest Seva to Bhagwan Kal Bhairav, and anyone who does this Seva is blessed with not only the blessings of Bhagwan Kal Bhairav, but also Mahalakshmi Devi. This significant offering was made this year under the guidance of Sir. And just yesterday, in the Bhog Aarti, with the blessings, guidance and grace of Bhagwan, we also managed to offer a silver Sheesh Mukut and a silver Trishul to Bhagwan Kal Bhairav, symbolic of assurity, protection, fearlessness. And it is all become possible with the guidance, with the Margdarshan of Bhagwan Mahabhairav himself. And all this again, these offerings again have been done with the sankalp of Sanatan Dharma Raksha. This is one unique aspect which I encountered after meeting Sir, the way he combines the aspect of sadhana and seva together. Both are not very different, but the way to do the seva, if you're doing seva with the right hand, the left hand should not get to know it. And if you're doing it with what sankalp? Not for any individual person's need, greed, but for the raksha of all, for the utthan of Sanatan Dharma as itself. Dharmo rakshate rakshita. If we protect our dharma, dharma in turn will protect us. If any message we have to carry from here, it will be this. We all have our needs and aspirations. That's very natural too. But in the course of pursuing our daily, day-to-day life, if we can have some element of Sanatan Dharma Raksha or some element of Sanatan Dharma Suraksha which we can teach to our children, we don't have to go very far away. We have to make them aware of our ethos, our values, our pluralism in the best way as we can. That will be the best contribution we can do for the growth and progress of Sanatan Dharma. It's a beautiful dharma which is open for all, does not have a conversion of concept. Unfortunately, I feel in today's time, in place of promoting it and placing it to our younger generation in the right way, most often we ridicule it. We have portrayed our Santa Mahatmas, our Sadhu Sannyasis, as someone who will kidnap our children and take them away. This is something that has come to us. It's not our fault. In many cases, the parents are also unaware. And simultaneously, if we see in other dharmas or religions, then there is always this sense of teaching their children, be it as small, as minuscule as possible, some elements of dharma, some elements of their religion, which is there grounded with them. Kashi Archan Foundation has been dedicated always to connect the devotees with the Vimukta Kshetra of Kashi. Kashi was never known for Ganga Arti, Kashi was never known for the Banarsi, again apologies to the ladies here. Kashi has always been the place of spiritual enhancement. When you come to Kashi, you experience that level of spiritual consciousness elevating to a different level. People have come to Kashi always for different reasons. Some came to Kashi to live, some came to Kashi to die. Someone, especially now from North India, they come to have their daily earnings or have a better livelihood opportunity. But always you wanted to come to Kashi. And Kashi has always represented that level of spiritual consciousness and elevation of that spiritual consciousness. And when we focus on the minute things rather than on the larger and broader perspective, we limit ourselves and we do not gain as much as we should from our Kashi Yatra. We have always been conscious of this fact, and this is one of the reasons we have been trying to rejuvenate and bring into public awareness some of the ancient parikrama yatras which were done in Kashi. Kashi, if you see, is a yantra. It's a beautiful yantra. It is also one of the most astrologically significant places. Any problem you have in life, Kashi has a solution for that. Kashi has a Puranic, Kashi has a Paddhati-based ritual offering, or just if you go to certain places, have dhyan, have meditation and darshan, your problem will be taken care of. So instead of going to other places, trying out different things, unfortunately in today's time, certain people go to different religious places also for their problems. Kashi, my dear friends, has a solution to all. Come and experience it lively. Come and experience it with open heart. Go to the right places. There are certain parikrama yatras which were very prominent then, but today very less people are aware, and people, those who come also, and millions are coming today, but they'll go to the important places, say Kashi Vishwanath, Kal Bhairavji, Vishalakshi, maximum Ganga Arti, Annapurna Ji. It is beyond that. These places are significant. It is mandatory. Without going to them, your Kashi Yatra is incomplete. But make sure to also go to those certain places which have always been that spiritual center of conscious upliftment, of sadhana upliftment. There are certain places, these yatras which we have started covering, the Dwadas Jyotirling Yatra. Not many people know that all the 12 Jyotirlings are present in Varanasi. And doing the darshan of these Jyotirling in Varanasi gives you equal punya than what you would have going to the actual places to cover the darshan. In fact, at certain instances, doing the darshan of these Jyotirling in Kashi is more significant in Punyadaya. According to Skanda Puran, if you go to the Kedarnath in the Himalayas, if you go there 7 times, and if you go to the Kashi Kedarnath just once, it is both supposed to be equal. Such is the massive significance. In fact, if we talk about the Puranic significance, there's been so much talked about. Just if you come to Kashi, the moment you leave your home in the journey for coming to Kashi, then in between the number of steps that you take, it yields you more punya than an Ashwamedh Yagna performed every single step. Such is the massive significance of just coming to Kashi. Leave apart going to darshans, leave apart performing rituals, leave apart doing anything else. Just if you come to Kashi, my dear friends, you are blessed, and I'm sure many of us who are sitting here would have come for the first time. Hence, I felt it was appropriate on my behalf as a host of Kashi to tell you about what you should not miss during the course of Kashi Yatra, when you should have an open horizon to going to places, going with the right intent, and experiencing that uplift in sadhana, spirituality, and consciousness. Just I was mentioning about the Niswarth Sankalp which we have been doing for Sanatan Dharma Raksha. I feel it is only appropriate of me to mention here that this past Ashtami, the community jap which are done for the Sankalp of Sanatan Dharma crossed 1 crore in figure mark. There is no promotion, there is no media coverage. It's a heart-to-heart connect of people with the Almighty, with the Tattva of Bhairav, with the Tattva of Shiva. And this has been increasing astronomically, like anything. I just wish and pray today that may the Lord of Time bless us all with fearlessness, with courage, with strength, with determination to protect our dharma, and with the appetite to always stand for truth, courage, and righteousness. With this, I thus rest my words, and I invite Sir to come on the podium and bless us all with his words.
Namaste to everybody. Joy Ma Kamakhya, Joy Matara, Joy Bhairav Baba. It's a terrific occasion to be present in this very ancient and very holy and extremely auspicious city of Kashi to speak on a topic which is actually quite difficult. But thanks to Harsh for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. I have an added advantage today. Though I'm not you people may be thinking that I'm a public speaker, but I'm not actually a public speaker in that sense. I don't have my specs, so I can't see anybody. So that makes a better concentration to speak. So there are less distractions. No, it's wonderful what, just before I start, it's actually wonderful that this kind of a event is being organized, and it has been done so well by the Kashi Archan Foundation, and which is led by Harsh, as you know. It is through these kind of gathering of people, events, etc., that you end up spreading, rooting dharma more strongly, because this is the thing of the age. You walk according to the age. That is how this thing spreads, that's how this thing survives, and that's how it passes to the next generation. So thank you for doing this. Devata Anubhuti is the theme of our this gathering, this talk. And it is a very complicated thing in my opinion, because it is a subject which is so deep and so nuanced that it is very difficult to explain every aspect of it, because there is a gap in what is being spoken and what will be understood by people. However, whenever somebody enters into the path of sadhana, any sadhana of any deity, one of the key aims is that if you ask them, they say that we want an experience of the deity. Anubhuti is experience, right? But what is the nature of experience? What qualifies as an experience? Does it mean that you see the deity? The question is important as you do sadhana, as everybody, I suppose, is doing some kind of practice. Many of you might be doing practices related to Bhairav Baba specifically. Long back, when I had started my own spiritual journey, there were many people I had met who used to have a lot of experiences. So they would say that, today I was doing this japa, so I saw this deity, then tomorrow I was doing that, there was Hanumanji, kal sapne mein ye aa gaya, wo aa gaya. It's wonderful. And they were not at all lying. They were saying with complete sincerity. I could see that. I knew these people. And for a second, I used to think that, wonderful, it's terrific. Why am I not getting anything? That's the first question. Then 2-3 years later, the second question came that in these 3 years, इन्होंने तो पूरा 33 करोड़ देवता देख लिया, but there's not 1 inch of change that has happened in their other external behavior. तो फिर what exactly is going on? I know that these people are not lying, they're not making up, they are not even insane. वो तो अलग बात हो गया, if you're psychotic and all that, you can see stuff. नहीं, they're very normal people. They're actually experiencing things. There are deities. This is an anubhuti. This is exactly an anubhuti. But why is that anubhuti not translating into a change in the individual's consciousness? And it took me a lot of time to understand that. It was a question mark for years, which, by the way, is also an answer that if you have a question, don't be in a hurry to get the answer, because you'll get a wrong answer. When the right time comes, you'll get an answer, which means that don't email me. So, because I get too many emails, the same question, so that's why you wait at the right time, the answer comes. First clue to this came to me, and the question becomes more complicated, because if you think about it, I was, being a Bengali, like any other Bengali, we all know of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Thakur Ramakrishna as we call him. So, gist of his story is that he comes to Dakshineshwar Kali temple, he has a vision of Ma Kali, and then after that he's transformed. He's a saint, full scale. Such a huge saint that even 100 years later people are putting up photos in the houses and doing pranam to him. And then there are people who have seen almost every deity that I know of, and there's been not 1 millimeter of change in their consciousness. So what exactly is going on? That is because not all seeing is the same. These things, when it comes to the question of experiencing a deity, your first experience will happen through the Pancha Indriyas only, which is you might see something, you might hear something. Even more powerful, you might actually smell something. Some deities, when they start appearing, some beings, not just deities, there will be a specific kind of an aura, a kind of sugandha, right, in the atmosphere. And to be able to distinguish that what is the nature of this reality, this being, because it is not only the deities, by the way, these experiences can be given to an individual upasaka, depending on his purva samskara and karmas and what type of practice he is doing, etc., by other entities also, between the sadhak, you, me, wherever we stand, and the deities. The gap is immensely huge. Every realm of reality has different types of existences, beings in these realms, and any one of them can bring about a flurry of experiences in an upasaka. Only thing that they cannot do, and the difference between a deity, a devata in the sense, when I say the word, I mean the primary gods that we consider, Shiva, Ma Durga, Kali, Vishnu, etc., these deities, and any of the beings that are there in the realms. And I'm not going into the details of it. These are, by the way, not necessarily negative beings. When I say beings, it does not mean something dark and negative. It's just that, say, if you see a Tantra Puja of Devi, or if you, those who have worshipped the Sri Chakra, you will know that every avarana has all various kinds of yoginis are there, beings are there, bhairavas are there, etc., surrounding the Mula Devata. So these are the parivaras of the main deity. Any of the parivar devatas can also give you an experience, an anubhuti. What they cannot do is take your mind into a meditative state. Meditation, genuine meditation, is the one benchmark that separates at every stage between how deep an upasaka has actually reached. Nothing else is a foolproof mechanism. Not experiences, not intuition, not vision, not dream, nothing. All of these things can come because of a multitude of factors. Some could be from some entities, some beings, some could be from purva samskaras, the deities you might have worshipped, etc. But what changes between when an actual devata starts interacting with an upasaka, and that is a stage, do not aspire for it on day one. The important thing is that the reason why we do sadhana is so that we transform ourselves, so that we have the capacity to take that power. Because a deity's power is tremendous. A devata is a reality, by the way. You have to start believing that it's a reality, like you consider like everybody else in this room is a reality, like your friend is a reality. That way it is a reality, but much more abiding, much more stronger, much more eternal compared to a human being. A human being has only what, 50, 60, 70, 80 years of life, then you are dead. A deity has infinite life from our perspective. They were there even before the first human came through evolution, and they will always be there if tomorrow, say by some miraculous event, all humanity vanishes. So deities are that longer in their existence. And the deities are also very abiding. That is a reality. Stronger reality than the flesh and blood reality you see around. So they have the capacity to cause changes. Is there a problem here? It's fine? I'm trying to. Okay. So important thing is that as you keep doing sadhana, you will have experiences. Anubhuti is an important aspect, because obviously there's somewhere or the other the mind craves for an experience. But not all experiences are transformative experiences. It is important, therefore, and this is a very complicated topic, because while there are many shastras that will tell you, the texts that tell you details of how the ritualistic upasana of the deities have to be done, the stories of the lores, the divine stories of the deities, the devatas that cause a transformation if you study them, there is very little literature that goes deep into the categorization and the analysis of the nature of divine experiences. And this is a very vast topic. Swami Vivekananda used to say that of all 100 people who start sadhana, almost 70 of them will leave halfway, and then of the 30, 27 will go mad, and perhaps 3 will reach, which is very fair assessment in my opinion. Because the 70 who leave halfway is because what happens is when you start the sadhana, your graph normally goes like this. You will have a flurry of experiences, many things will happen, whether it's material, spiritual, you will get more attracted towards it. And then, after a stage, the sadhana moves at a very flat line condition. It is here that the real test starts. Whether you are able to continue doing the sadhana, even if there is no experience happening, even if there is nothing happening, not even a leaf will move, but whether you have the ability to carry on day after day, day after day, year after year, year after year, year after year. This is a marathon. This is not a 100-meter race. Those who have that capacity, and that's why whenever I'm guiding somebody or whenever I have to advise somebody, there's the 3 things I keep saying: consistency, discipline, patience. If you have these 3, you will succeed. If these are not there, it does not matter what range of experiences you have, how much intuitive ability you are born with, you will not have the stamina to go till the end. That's very simple, because this devata sadhana, to reach a stage where you change your consciousness to be able to have a direct interaction with the deity in a transformed manner, or to put it in other words, to change yourself from the human condition into a state where you are not affected by the sorrows and miseries of life. Because that is the one question that has always affected all great siddhas, philosophers, this and that. The root of everything. How does suffering end? The moment you are born, you will have to suffer. The only way you escape suffering is if you transform yourself. And that transformation is very, very tough. In order to be able to do this transformation, we worship the gods, because they are already in that state. They can help you in that. However, the problem is that they are not interested to help you unless you show commitment. And their commitment is very different from the human sense of commitment. So that is why the general dictum that used to be said that 12 years of unbroken sadhana has to be there. Then the deity sees that, okay, this fellow is serious about what is he doing. And therefore they will start, then their parivaras, etc. will start taking notice and start, range of things. So when it comes to experiences, the defining experience is depth in meditation. Remember this always. Dreams, intuition, flashes, visions, all these are wonderful, but they are not a guarantee of progress. They are not a guarantee even, in some cases, that it is an experience that is coming due to the Devata. There are many factors that can cause these things. In olden times, there used to be the idea was that you stay with the Guru and the Guru guides you step by step. In this age, that is hardly there. Even if you have a Guru, it's very likely that you will not be staying in the house of the Guru. So he or she may not know what you are doing on a day-to-day basis. So that is why, and precisely this reason, when I started, when I asked people to do Om Bhairavaya Namah Japa, which is a very, very simple format, the idea was that it should be something that is easy to do and that has the least amount of risk. I had no idea at the time that a lot of people will be, actually doing this. It was more like among a very closed group of people. I had first introduced the idea, and then within a year, as in the last Ashtami Tithi, the total number of japa crossed, it went more than 1 crore, which is wonderful. I mean, I take that as a sign that it is Bhairava's will that has caused it. It's not my doing. But I have not even put any effort into it. And when people used to say that, people who are, some of the people whom I guide, that we should do more about spreading this. So I'm a very laid back, chill kind of individual. So apne aap se hoga, nahi hoga to nahi hoga. It's all right. It's not my responsibility. I don't own this. So if I don't own this, if it doesn't work, that's also fine. However, this saves you from certain kind of, if you attach yourself too strongly to that I have to get X, Y, Z result, etc. If it happens or it does not happen, you are not able to transmit the blessings of the deity or the channel the will of the deity properly. And that comes at a time when one goes to a little deeper into the sadhana. Anyway, when it comes to Anubhutis, one of the things that happens specifically, now let's come to Bhairava Upasana. One of the things that happens is as you go deeper into the sadhana, your very interestingly, when you go deeper into the sadhana, you will see that this 5 indriyas will become sharper. That's one of the very typical experiences that happen to people. Sharper means your sense of smell, your sense of hearing, etc. will start getting sharper, which means your consciousness will become very subtle. So you can suddenly hear things or sometimes, very subtle sounds. And that is the time when, because most of you would not be having a physical guru, it is very important to have an access in meditation. Also check that is the meditation actually going deeper. If it is going deeper along with it, then you are on the right track. Then this is definitely a very positive experience and will take you to higher states of sadhana. Eventually, as the experiences go deeper, for example, as we were discussing, you will realize the iconography of the deity holds the key to the experiences that an upasaka will have. And that's a very, very deep idea, because these iconographies were not randomly selected. So, Bhairav Baba, he holds the khappar in his hand. As you keep doing sadhana year after, and don't expect this to happen in one day, and this is not a matter of imagination also. So don't start imagining this. This comes as a realization at a certain stage, after years. Don't be in a hurry. Consistency, discipline, patience, 3 things. Whoever has that, genuinely has that, is going to succeed. Whoever does not have any of the 3 parameters will fall off the track one day or the other. As one goes deeper into Bhairava Upasana, you will realize that the khappar that he actually holds is your skull. It's not anything else. It's you, your head he is holding in his hand. And when he actually, we hear that story when Bhairava actually decapitated Brahma, that will relate to your life. He is going to decapitate the mind that runs around here and there, that thinks that it has created its own universe. So this is me, this is my family, this is my office, this is my spouse, this is my children, this is my clothes, this is my identity. I go on the road, somebody says this, I feel happy, somebody says that, I feel sad. That is the Brahma that you have created in your own head. One day Bhairava comes, decapitates that Brahma. With that skull he puts it. Your mind that runs around will stop. Absolutely stop. And when the mind stops, it's like this, imagine this lake, beautiful, powerful lake. And this is a metaphor that has been used many times in spirituality by many great acharyas and siddhas. I'm just copying from them, but this is the best example that I found. So there's this lake which is very disturbed. It's constant water ripples everywhere. You can't make out anything. That's the mind. The moment Bhairava cuts off the mind, everything becomes still. And the moment it becomes still, there's nothing you can see, as if the water does not exist. Deep inside the pond, then you see something else exists which does not change easily. That is then the start of genuine spiritual progress. That is the anubhuti that one seeks eventually. And that is the only experience among thousands of experiences that can change any average human being into an absolutely divine condition. That one experience is why masters like Buddha would sit for 50 days in meditation, or whoever it is, etc. That point, and that Bhairava gives the day he decides that he's going to show you that it is your skull, your mind that he holds. He grips you. It is not your buddhi that is running yourself. Once that comes, then you realize that state, the term that is used in the Bhagavad Gita, nimitta matra. And it is not a statement of, false humility. False humility is far worse than being actually officially arrogant, if you ask me. But it is not a matter of false humility. You actually realize that what is nimitta matra. You have done nothing about it. Everything is controlled by a higher force. It is getting things done. If it succeeds, good. If it does not succeed, that is also good. Neither was it your responsibility when it succeeded, so you don't deserve the praise. Neither is it your responsibility if it failed. But what you did was that what you have to do is that you do it with the greatest possible dedication, and that brings about a terrific joy inside that opens up. Once you disassociate your mind from getting attached to the things that you're doing, that itself is a sadhana. Nature suddenly opens up things that you could not imagine were possible. Long, vast distances. It's vistas of things you normally can never imagine will be shown to you. But only condition is that you stop attaching yourself to what you're doing. That itself is the state which comes as one keeps doing Bhairava sadhana eventually. So that is the kind of anubhutis that people, those who succeed, and many will, because obviously it is somewhere the will of Bhairava that so many are suddenly chanting this mantra of his. It's very simple Nama mantra, nothing complicated. And the idea was that Bhairava sadhana has many aspects. There are hardcore sadhanas that happen in cremation grounds. No one is asking you to do that. Simple one that you can sit at home and do. And relate to eventually the tattva of Para Bhairava. Para Bhairava is the one consciousness that has both Shiva Tattva and Shakti Tattva inside, which is in the 36 Tattva scheme, which is the highest. Everything is inside him. Everything. Positive, negative, everything. It is a form of Advaitam, but it is not the Vedantic Advaitam. It is the Devata Advaitam. It is, you might call it the Shaiva Advaitam, where everything is Shiva, where everything is Bhairava. So that state, that Tattva, can eventually come, and I believe will come to many people, because there are so many doing this sadhanas. So I hope that you have a gist, because this is a very difficult and complicated topic. You get a gist of the idea of what Devata Anubhuti, or what is the right type of Anubhuti that you should look forward to as an Upasaka, that is going to help you grow and help you go ahead and help you transform into whatever it is that you are meant to transform into. Jai Bhairava Baba.
Thank you, sir. Really, words flow from your mouth like the Ganges water flows in Varanasi. Aviral Nirmal. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom and blessing to all of us. My first question to you would be, sir, now that we see the scale of Bhairava Nam Jap increasing day by day, I deliberately use the word astronomically increasing, because 1 crore, sir, is the count that we are having, but personally also I know many people who have done lakhs of japas from the time they have started. They are not part of the initial counting. They are doing it in their own solace. They are doing it in their own comfort. And there are many such people. So the quantum of japas that we are seeing, sir, and it is increasing day by day. Where do you see, sir, this going ahead? You very rightly and very beautifully mentioned that this is not owned by you. But sir, without guiding anyone, you have guided so many. Without initiating anyone, you have initiated so many. So now that you see this beautiful process has come to this stage, it has become in a way a revolution where millions and millions are doing these japas. Almost everyone, I'm sure, in the neighborhood or in the second house is doing this japa today, or some part of Bhagwan Kal Bhairav. Where do you see, sir, this going ahead? And of course, it is Devata's will that it is increasing at this pace and it is catching the influence of so many people and so many minds. Apart from it, sir, why? Because the Naam Jap is very simple, as you mentioned. What is the inherent essence of this Naam Japa that is catching people's mind and is spreading like a pandemic now? And where do you see, sir, going this ahead in today's time?
Hello. Everybody is able to hear me? Yeah. So the first thing is that first effect of the Bhairava Tattva that comes to any individual who does japa of this mantra is that it brings a sense of steadiness and fearlessness. So in Tantra or any Upasana Paddhati, two important aspects to any sadhana or an Upasaka. The first thing is the Adhara Shakti. Adhara is your mind and body. So basically, do you have the capacity to take the Shakti of the deities? That's very simple. First, basic question. So unless your mind and body has the capacity, you simply can't take it. Even if a deity were to genuinely appear in their own full force and power and try to transform you, it is most likely to cause a nervous breakdown in the Upasaka unless the Adhara is very strong. And that is the difference between coming to that what I was talking. There are hundreds of people who see various deities and yet nothing happens. That is because the deity doesn't come in their full swarupa. Some of it is mental projection, some of it is a very Purva Janmas thing and all that. But the real transformative effect of a deity comes when he or she comes in his actual power and strength and glory. Then you transform, either you will transform or you will be shocked like you have never been shocked. Very bluntly putting it. I had this experience once, long back, years ago, when I first did my 40-day an Anushtan of Bhairav Baba. Very simply, I had no idea what an Anushtan is, just like that I did it. Right after a complete few days, I had an experience. And that was, for lack of better words, that was sort of scary. So, but then there was this, this thing in the head that says that, no, let's try once again and see. So that's how eventually today I'm here. So from that experience. But the point is that first experience, if your mind is, the mind at the Adhara is not steady, it causes a disbalance. Bhairava's first thing that he does is that to steady the mind and body of the Upasaka. This will reflect in, if you carry on for anybody carries on for some time, it will bring about, how do you put it, a strength, an inner strength, a lack of fear. Achha, lack of fear has to be qualified here. There are many deities in our system of Upasana Paddhatis who give protection. For example, Hanumanji is very famous for giving protection. Ma Durga will give you protection, Kali will give you protection, Lord Narasimha will give you protection. But there's a difference in the way Bhairava gives you protection. He gives you protection by actually throwing you into the fire, so that the thing that you are scared of, you're not scared of anymore. Once you get into it and you see what exactly this is, so it suddenly steadies you. That is his method. Other deities will stop the problem right at the beginning, but that's what it is. You will not necessarily change. That is why you will change in a different sense. I will not go into that aspect. It will divert the conversation. But basically, Bhairava creates that sense of strength, first of all, and number two, that steadiness in the mind. And at a surrounding or environmental level, the amount of japa as it increases, I believe that the japa should ideally, for a country like India, when I started off, when somebody had asked me, I said that we should have 8 crores japa every Ashtami. 8 crores. Because the volume of japa should be consummate to the volume of the number of people who stay in this land. So everything is proportionate. Whole world works on proportions. So sometimes I see that, somebody taking a sankalpa just like that. Say I decide that I want to take a sankalpa for saving the world. Very ambitious project. Do I have the capacity for it? Do I even know how many people are there in the world? So there, if you have to have a realistic idea, say India has this amount of population at this time, around 8 crore japa of Bhairava if it happens on Ashtami Tithis, and I believe by Baba's will it will come eventually, as it has reached 1 crore in 1 year actually, with very less effort. And then this continues for a year or more. This is going to cause an upsurge not only of people getting more attracted to sadhana, but also a lot of dharmic changes automatically will happen. Cleansing will happen in this land. Very strangely, the mantras are always linked internally and externally. So whenever you chant the Bhairava mantras and all that, it is going to cause an effect in the environment around. It will cleanse things, start cleansing, which is perhaps a thing we really need in this land. So that is the first impact, and the larger impact is that there will be an upsurge in Shakti Upasana. Bhairava Upasana is never without Shakti Upasana, or he will bring it, the right form, the right content, in his own time. That's how I see it.
Sir, a question which may be helpful to all those who have come here or will come in future, or to all those who will be listening later on. So a lot of people are curious in knowing. A lot of people, sir, are curious in knowing that when they are going to a shrine of Bhairava, when they are going to the temple of Bhairava, what should be the right approach, right instinct, right mindset, if at all offerings that should be carried during the course when you go to have his darshan. Unfortunately, Bhagwan has been portrayed in many negative ways also. There is a paddhati of offering alcohol and tamasic offerings during the course of certain anusthans and pujas. But for someone who is into this path of sadhana, someone who is into this path of spirituality, how should he go to approach his devata in Sakara Swarup when he's going to a temple? And if at all I can narrow down the question, how should one go when he's coming to the Kashi Kal Bhairav temple?
I have to hold the mic? Okay. I thought this will work. Okay. So first thing is that you ask yourself, and that goes for all temples, are you visiting like a tourist or are you visiting like an upasaka? So if you are visiting like a tourist, you can go anytime, any day, anywhere. Nobody is stopping you. Free country. If you are visiting like an upasaka, you have to first understand that why you want to visit the temple, what is the significance of the deity, and what upasana of the deity have you done. So in my opinion, as I tell people, that if you are doing Bhairav Upasana, try to visit specifically the Kashi Kal Bhairav. He is magnanimous. There's no words. I can speak whole day, 24 hours. If I speak, even then it will not capture the full vastness and depth of the deity who is inside that, whose iconic form is inside the Kashi Kal Bhairav temple. Immense, immense. So 5 months, 6 months, or whatever period of time, whatever sadhana you are doing of Bhairav Baba, and then take a few days and come and visit the temple. And when you visit the temple, not only visit, most important thing is, apart from visiting, stay there, say in Kashi. Kashi, the whole of Kashi is Baba's land, if you look at it that way. It's not only the Kal Bhairav temple, whole of Kashi. Everywhere his presence is there, Ghats his presence is there, anywhere. So you stay here for say 3 days at least, and you do the same sadhana that you are doing at home. Don't just visit like a tourist. You sit here, you do the mantra japas. If you want, keep some, the easiest offering that you can do is 1 coconut and 1 vastra, 1 dhoti. That's it. If you don't want to go more complicated sadhanas, complicated processes. Just that, keep in front of you, sit and do your japa, whatever japa you do normally, and then you go to the temple and offer it. And remember, if you do it in this sense, when you visit a temple with this kind of a mindset, from the moment the thought comes into your head, ki now I will go to the temple, your sadhana has started. The visit itself is a sadhana. How you visit, what happens there, what reactions happen naturally, that will tell you everything. If your mind and the discrimination capacity is opened up by the anugraha of the devata and the gurus, then you will know ki how my sadhana is going, if there is something that needs to be changed, what is the mood of the deity. And that's a very interesting topic, by the way. What is the mood of the deity on that particular day towards you? What blessing he can give you, what he cannot give you. This idea of the mood of the devata, by the way, also comes to us in some of the tantras, which from where it's translated into a large part of North India and other places where we see where is Lord Shiva sitting on that particular day and tithi, based on which Kamya Prayogs and Kamya Sadhanas are done. If he's in the cremation ground on one particular, there's a calculation behind it. Then if you ask him for gold or for a job, it's unlikely to happen because he's not in the mood for it. He's in a different mood. So these type of things are there, but not going into the complexity. First thing is that if you have to offer, do your sadhana. Offering to secondary hai. First is do your sadhana. Then you visit with the right kind of attitude in the mind, right shraddha. Dhoti is a very good thing to give. Coconut is a very good thing to give. And if the temple has the custom of offering, sanctified alcohol, which is in the tantras mention it as karan specifically, by the way, because there's an amritikaran of it that is to be done technically when it is done. So it changes the tattva of it from being something that can cause dangers to the human system into something that is a divine offering. So that if there's a system in place, you can easily go and offer that. It does not mean whether you partake of it or not is irrelevant. Remember that when you are doing the Devata Upasana, it is what the deity likes that you have to give. It is not what you like. ये बहुत important चीज़ है. I know great Bhairava Upasakas, absolutely sattvic in their lifestyle, but they have no qualms in offering alcohol to Bhairava as and when needed. And they do it not randomly. I've sat in their puja, suddenly they'll say that Ravi Baba needs this, so they will get that. They, at a very high state, they can transform water into alcohol. That also I've seen. Very high state. That's not, don't even think about it. वो नहीं होने वाला है. वो rarest of the rare. But it's possible by His grace. He tells you how to transmute the most sattvic, simplest thing into something that is tamasic and then change it back into again sattvic. He can do all that. So your point is that you follow the paddhati, follow what is set by the tradition, by the gurus, by the acharyas, by the system. So you know that this road works. Don't try anything innovation. And if you are, if you are not keen on offering alcohol, no problem. You give a dhoti, you give a coconut, etc. However, one thing is to be remembered that when you are asking for something, that is if you are going nishkama, then if you offer anything, that is also fine. But if you have some desire in your mind, then these rules will not work that way. You have to decide ki kya kaun sa cheez is appropriate to give to the deity so that he gives you whatever jo bhi aapka, whatever the mind wants. So that way.
Sir, a follow-up trivial question on the same. A lot of people have this confusion created, I feel, of whether they can keep some Bhairava Murti in their puja room or not. And there are certain yantras which have always been kept in the house of Bharat, in all across the states of India, which have always symbolized assurity and protection from Bhairav Baba. So what is your take, and for all, if you can answer today, is it appropriate to keep a Bhairav idol, a Bhairav Murti or a Bhairav photo in your home?
It is absolutely 100%, 200% safe to keep a photo of Bhairav Baba. And if you are in confusion, keep a photo of Kal Bhairava of Kashi. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely safe. Don't go for all, do an internet search and find the most obscure kind of photo. I have seen people sometimes do that. Take the standard photo of Bhairav Baba that is there in a temple, like in Kashi Kal Bhairav. You keep that, or Vatuk Bhairav. You keep that. That is absolutely perfect. I don't think there is any problem with that. When it comes to vigrahas, there is nothing per se wrong in keeping a vigraha. I myself have a vigraha of Bhairav Baba at home that was gifted to me by somebody. And that vigraha is, it behaves in an interesting way when I do abhishekam of the vigraha. As surroundings behave, the vigraha doesn't. All interesting things start happening. But vigraha rule is that you have to have the capacity to do seva of the vigraha. And that goes for any deity. You cannot just keep a vigraha as just like, some showpiece kind of nahi. If you are able to take responsibility of the vigraha, if you know what kind of sevas have to be done, what is the height of the vigraha, these niyams have to be taken into consideration. So it should not be that you just, your puja room looks like a museum. 100 different vigrahas of deities you have kept and you do seva to no one. That's not good enough. If you keep a vigraha, do proper seva of the vigraha. And it is a good way to keep, there's no harm in keeping a vigraha per se. if you are able to do seva. The other thing is that if you are keeping a pran pratishtita vigraha, then boss, there are many other rules. You have to have a nitya puja done, and if you can't do it yourself, you have to have engage a qualified purohita to come and do the pujas. If you are not thinking that far, then do not go into pran pratishtita vigrahas. Yantras are easier to keep if you are at that stage, at the right stage, and if there is somebody who can guide you how to do the seva of the yantra. Yantra seva is easier than vigraha seva, in my opinion. But here also you have to remember that as an upasak, if you are serious about Bhairav Upasana, if you have a yantra, then you have to do seva of the yantra, proper puja of the yantra, and if required, you can carry the yantra. But there is no harm in keeping at home. And especially I feel that Kashi Kal Bhairav Baba and Vatuk Bhairav, absolutely safe to keep their photos at home.
One reason why this question was important, sir, because all the guests here, they have been facilitated along with the Kashi Prasad of the Kal Bhairav's photo. So perhaps if this was not addressed today, I am sure my team would have been flooded with calls asking the same whether it is safe to keep the photo or not. For those who are beginning with their journey of sadhana, and I have also, sir, experienced it personally, the stutis of the Devata, the stutis of Devi composed by either mentioned in our Puranas, Vedas, Shastras or great saints, I believe, sir, they have a very important role in ensuring and making our first connect with the Devata, the first essence of Devata. Most of them are hymns singing praises of the Devata. For example, if you refer to the first line or first few lines of the Kal Bhairavashtakam, Devaraj Shevyamana Pavanagri Pankajam Vyala Yagya Sutramindu Shekharam Kripakaram Naradadi Yoga Vinda Vanditam Digambaram Kashika Puradhinath Kala Bhairavam Bhaji. The meaning of this the literal meaning of this Kal Bhairavashtakam first line is देवराज शिव्यमान पावनाग्रि पंकजम. देवराज इंद्र जिनके चरणों की सेवा करते हैं, व्याल यज्ञ सूत्रमिंदु शेखरम कृपाकरम, जिन्होंने अपने ऊपर सर्प को यज्ञोपवीत की तरह धारण किया हुआ है. नारदादि योग विंद वंदितम दिगंबरम, भगवान नारद और सभी बड़े देवी देवता जिनकी पूजा और उपासना दिन रात करते हैं. काशी का पुराधिनाथ काल भैरवम भजे, ऐसे काशी के पुराधिपति भगवान काल भैरव को बारंबार प्रणाम, बारंबार नमस्कार. I believe, sir, these stutis which are simple in understanding, they make our first connect with the Devata, and certain stutis, especially of Bhagwan Shiv, say Rudrashtakam, Shivashtakam, Lingashtakam, I believe they are mokshada in their own way. If they are continued over a period of time, sung with emotion, they really connect with the Devata. I would like to know from you, sir, personally also, what are the importance of these stutis, these mantras that we come across on our day-to-day life, and what is the right approach we should keep in mind when we are chanting these stutis or making these stutis heard to our Devata in our puja mandap?
Stutis are, of course, very beautiful to chant, and they help you connect to the deity. More importantly, stuti chanting should be done with some strong emotion towards the deity. Then it works much faster. It's not just, I mean, if the initial stages that connect is not there, then do it even mechanically also. But again, the important thing is that as you keep doing more volumes of the stuti chant to the deity and you're worshipping the deity, it helps in boosting your shraddha and bhakti and your connection towards the deity. It is absolutely beautiful to do. In fact, I, not just for Bhairav Baba, when speaking specifically of Kamakhya, I encourage people to do the Kamakhya Stotram instead of any mantra of Kamakhya. Stotram is a very beautiful thing to do. As you keep doing the Stotram, eventually there is some blessing of the deity that will come to you, little bit, and that also feels beautiful. That helps you encourage, that encourages the Upasaka in the path, and pulls him or her deeper into the sadhana. So do the stuti, do it with devotion, slowly understand the meaning of the stuti, and in some cases, even doing sort of taking a sankalpa and doing a stuti as an anushthan is also very useful. Some cases, for example, the Kal Bhairav Ashtakam, it can, if somebody is very confident and is a good upasaka, has that steadiness of mind and discipline, he or she may even do a sadhana that spans for a certain number of days, where you take a sankalpa that you will do the Kal Bhairav Ashtakam so many times per day for so many days for the priti of Bhagavan Kal Bhairava, and maybe on, say, it's a 10-day sadhana, so 10-day you keep an akhanda diya for Kal Bhairav. Simple things, but they're very effective. If you do that with Shraddha and Bhakti, so the beauty of Dharma is that there are so many options that have been given to people depending on your condition, on what you find comfortable to do, so you do that accordingly. And the results definitely come when you do it over a period of time, and specifically for a Devata like Bhairava. One thing I feel about Bhagavan Bhairav is that if you take one step, and this is absolutely true, if you take one step towards him, he will take 2 steps towards you. He is like that. There are some Devatas who take more time. They are not that interested in human contact. It takes a lot of time. But Bhairav Baba is nothing but Lord Shiva, who out of compassion and kindness for people have come down into this plane, and he has taken up that Bhayankar Swarupa because there is way too much darkness and ignorance all around. So he removes that ignorance, but behind that Swarupa of him is absolutely compassionate. Only thing to remember with specifically and not to remember, it's like you will realize it as you go deeper, is that Bhairava is a Devata who loves truth, honesty. 100% honesty is required, if not to the world, at least to yourself. Or else he will teach you honesty. And sometimes that is painful, but it will help you grow. This is what he is, really. And there are cultures, there are places where Bhairava is worshipped. Nepal, for example, as the god of justice. So if there is a conflict, kahin kuch problem, two people, some of the other matter is there, it's as if considered he is like the Chief Justice. So in front of him, people confess who has done what. And there are certain nimittas in science through which you understand whether somebody is lying, making up, or is being honest. He loves honesty like I have not seen any other being anywhere that loves honesty that much. Very, very, because he's Digambar, he's the Vibhuti Dharan is basically that. When all the Arambar of the world is finished down, what is left is the Vibhuti. He wears that and sits. If you're honest to yourself, honest to the world, to lamba ho gaya bahut, but at least be honest to yourself, that's a good first step. It helps you in Bhairav Sadhana.
Thank you, sir. In fact, just to illustrate little on what you said, being honest to yourself, I think, sir, this can be a revolutionary impact on any individual. Can start off many new things to come. If you're just being honest to yourself, honest to the practices that you're doing, being conscious of the practices that you're doing. Sir, I believe most of the people who are doing the Nama Mantra Jap or will do the Nama Mantra Jap, in fact the audience also which is sitting here, most of them are from the Grihastha Ashram. They have their lives, their family lives to take care of, their material aspect of life to be taken care of, which is natural also. Artha is important in general in any aspect of life. It's rare that many of them will become sadhus or sannyasis. It's hard also, it's not destined also. But somebody, sir, who is willing to pursue this path of spirituality and go to the end, the essence of it, experiencing the essence of it, and is facing conflicts from his day-to-day life of hardships, maybe family, work, etc. How do you feel, sir, is the right way to keep a delicate balance between the spiritual and material aspect of the world? And just a follow-up question on that, sir. I believe, and as I see today around myself, many of the people are starting the jap or sadhana to gain a material aspect, to reach to a material stage, to have certain material wish fulfilled. How appropriate and sustainable it is for someone who is starting a sadhana as a beginner, just with the aim of fulfillment of a material aspect, how correct it is and how sustainable it is.
First of all, yeah, I personally believe that any of the sadhanas that I have ever encouraged anybody to do, The whole aim is that you do the sadhana while being in society. There is no question of becoming a sadhu. I myself am not a, I'm a grihastha and anybody else, and that is the basic assumption. So that is why I do not see a possibility that by chanting this mantra somebody will become a sannyasi, unless it is destined for the individual. There may be 5% people, like you just now mentioned, ki jinke destiny mein hoga, ki they will become sadhus. For them it doesn't matter what japa they do, they'll end up becoming that only. But it is not absolutely important that one has to become a sannyasi in order to be able to spiritually progress. The original idea, I believe, was that the reason why 4 purusharthas were given, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, is that you have to balance life. All 4 are important. It's not necessary that you reject life. What you do is you transform life. You enjoy it in a different sense. Money is important, but you take money and you use money with certain ideas that as if you are doing it for the sake of the deity that you worship. Say you believe, start looking at it that, for example, that I earn money because it helps me sustain. It helps me sustain so that things around me do not fall apart. Things around me don't fall apart. So I can daily come and sit in my sadhana. Then you are doing everything that you are doing around in your life is only because Bhairava wills it, so that you can serve him better. The idea that somehow you will run away from society and be able to do it, ye ekdam bakwas idea hai. If you can't, if your sadhana is not working at home, in your puja room, it is not going to work in the Himalayas also. You will, 2 days later, you will come back. It doesn't work that way. The mind is the same everywhere, whether it's in your puja room or whether it is in Kedarnath or whether it is in Mars. The mind is the only problem and the mind is the only solution. That is why the idea is not to destroy the mind. That is one path of spirituality, by the way. It's possible to completely finish the mind. The other is, as you keep doing sadhana, as you keep meditating, and balance it with the material life. It should not be that, I am at a stage where I when I have to do. It's not, I enjoy it also. It's not a complaint that why I have to do. I completely enjoy it. I sit for 5 to 6 hours of sadhana almost daily, even when I'm traveling. There's a one specific suitcase full of deities and yantras and other things I have to bring, because unke seva cannot stop for any reason whatsoever. And also some deities who are at home and my family members, they know how to do seva of the day. Minimum seva has to be done. But it is not necessary that everybody has to do that. So first thing is that you see what is your lifestyle. You see what is a normal, average, healthy, dharmic lifestyle. Because there is sanction in the Shastras. You have to live this way. You have to go to office. You have to get married. You have to have children. You have to, some days on weekends, you have to go out. All that is fine. In spite of that, say 30 minutes, you take out time every day. 30 minutes you do the japa. Do not do something very elaborate at the initial beginning point. Remember that this is a marathon. So it is not about ki day 1 I start 8 hours of japa and then 8 months and don't do anything, nothing is going to happen. Even if you do 10 minutes of japa, if you continue without break for 1000 days, your first test is 1000 days, without break. Then you will start seeing transformations beginning. And mind you, this is only the test to enter into the nursery stage of sadhana, 1000 days. Once you take it to 5 years, once you take it to 12 years, then you are steady. Then you are not, there is like, then to wapas jane ka sawal hi nahi hota hai. You are in the rightly, the deities will start taking notice of you. Consistency, discipline, patience, 3 things. Take only that amount of sadhana that you can do without causing too much of disturbance to your environment. Aisa nahi ki pura, you fight with everybody in the house and tomorrow you start doing 8-10 hours of sadhana ki bahut bada sant sadhu ban gaya. Nahi. Do it in a relaxed manner, do it little bit, what you can comfortably do, but carry on doing this for a few years. It is enough to cause changes, transformations. Many factors are there. Grahas are there, this are there. Once they change, you will automatically be able to do more. And it is not just about sitting, eventually as you keep doing deeper sadhanas, you will realize that there is a certain state that comes inside during the japa meditation. It will last initially for few seconds, not even few seconds, a fraction, maybe 1 second, 2 seconds. But that will be so transformative that throughout the day, then after that you are going to office, you are meeting friends, or you are sitting in some meeting or whatever, that will keep pulling you. And somewhere in the mind you will feel that I need to experience it again. And then again next day you will sit for the japa and looking for that, say even if you are doing 30 minutes of japa, that 1 minute of a very peculiar transcendental experience that will come. Slowly, slowly over years, if you continue doing that, that 1 minute will expand. As the tattva inside you changes, nature will make arrangements around you for you to be able to sustain your sadhana. You don't need to fight too much. This is what I believe. So depending on where, what circumstances you are, you choose that type of sadhana which is possible, which is doable, and which you can sustain for years. And have patience. There is, at the end of the day, even if you have all the ingredients and if your, the cooking is right on the stove, there is still some time that is required. Kahin Mahakal has to step in until he decrees ki sadhana abhi aage badhne wala hai ki nahi hai, and that is where patience is very, very important. Any man who has mastered this, he to will definitely become a Siddha Purush. किस जन्म में होगा पता नहीं, लेकिन हो तो जाएगा. Patience is very important. Do not rush too much, but do something that is sustainable. And there is no idea of, there's no, if it's in somebody's destiny to become a sannyasi, very good. But it does not conflict with other things. In fact, you will see that it is going to boost your other matters. And the other part of the question I forgot, which is that if somebody enters into it for material aspects, I feel that it's perfectly fine. Initial stage में तो मोक्ष क्या है पता ही नहीं है. When we say that I want moksha, I feel that it's like, imagine go back 500 years ago in India. You are sitting in a village. You're transported in time machine back 500 years ago. अभी कोई गांव में आप बैठे हुए हो and you are telling to somebody कि there is a thing called Netflix. How will you explain to that person? ये मोक्ष का सीन यही है. It's just a word. You are so far off from it that you have no conception of it in your head. By you, I mean myself as well, by the way. Please count everybody in. When I say you, me, everybody. So because you have no conception, you will never reach. That which you can't imagine. Sadhana is a process of becoming. You become what you worship. To worship something, you have to have a real conception of it in your mind, in your heart. You have no conception of what is a moksha. It's just one technical term you have. Okay, I will not come back from again rebirth. कहाँ जा रहे हो? क्या हो रहा है? किसी को पता नहीं details. Because you have not experienced it. You have not even come close to experiencing it. Experience to it's later on. So it is perfectly all right as long as there is a healthy material desire. The idea is, I have seen that in many people, they start off with some material idea and eventually the process grips them. It becomes a part of their life. It becomes like, I need to do the japa even if now the material aspect is not working. And that's why I was saying in that, while speaking, that the basic graph of sadhana works this way. First it will go this. So you are doing sadhana, many magical things are happening. Mera promotion ho gaya, ye ho gaya, Baba is so kind, fantastic, fantastic. Fataks, everything stops. That is where you will see that whether you succeed or how much patience you have. You keep doing, and that, by the way, nothing is stopping. As you keep doing the sadhana, it is working in your subconscious mind. Your conscious mind does not even acknowledge, much less understand what is happening in the subconscious. And then one day when these two merge together, it's like a floodgate that will open and you will suddenly realize the flurry of changes that has happened, and you will see that not one single mantra japa you have done has gone to waste. It was working in the background, you were just not aware. Your conscious mind does not have the capacity to penetrate into your own subconscious and see what changes it is happening. And the day these two get linked, you are then the world will fall at your feet. That's how it works.
Thank you, sir, for the beautiful explanation. I believe, sir, and please correct me if I'm wrong, at many instances we believe that the Grihastha ashram is easy and the sannyas ashram is difficult in many ways. But at a certain point, and especially when the Grihasth peaks, suppose say at the time when you have achieved substantially in your career, you've become flat, the graph has become flat in your career line. You see your kids, they are becoming adults, they need to be settled in their lives. You see your aging parents in front of you whose need have to be taken care of, and at the same time the financial needs which know no stop. That time when that delicate balance is required, perhaps I believe Grihastha can be even more difficult than Sannyas ashram. One of the aspects, sir, which you just touched upon is that Bhairav Baba loves Shakti Upasana. And it is true in Tantra Shastra also. In fact, when we recite the Kali Bhairav Chalisa, we always come across the first few lines which mentions Jaiti Kali ke Lala Jai 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 Kashi Kotwala. So he's worshipped as the son of Ma Kali, and Ma Kali becomes the mother there. So for someone who is willing to pursue both his Shakti and Bhairav Upasana together, what things he should be conscious about from first day, and how the whole idea is about worshipping both Bhairav and Shakti together. And always there will be some inclination towards one. Either it will be Shakti or Bhairav. There will be slightly higher inclination towards one. So when the situation is like this, how should we maintain a balance and a reciprocal relation with the other Devata? If you are worshipping Bhairav, we are having more for him, he is our Ishta. How we should look at Ma Shakti? Although both are not too different, both are one. But when we are worshipping them together, what kind of things we should keep in mind when we are starting with the initial stages of worshipping both Bhairav and Shakti, that this powerhouse of energy which forms as a result does not become a disaster for us?
Firstly, so I personally believe that there is no way that sadhana can bring about a disaster in an individual. If it does, then the disaster ऐसे ही होने वाला था. Sadhana is just फालतू का blame दिया जा रहा है. But so my point is that if you are doing general Shakti Upasana is a more complicated topic in my opinion. Bhairav Baba it's kind of easier to connect to Bhairava. It's my experience. If you do the Nama Japa of Bhairav Baba over time, it creates, as I mentioned, that you will have certain kinds of strength, inner strength and a fearlessness comes into the Upasaka. Once it comes, then it steadies your path. You feel gladdened about it. But eventually, if somebody is doing Bhairav Upasana, somewhere or the other Shakti Upasana will make its entrance. There is no doubt about it. Among the Shakti Upasanas that connect to Bhairava, it's also important to understand that when a lot of people will be worshipping, say whether you do Batuka Bhairava Upasana or Kala Bhairava Upasana, these are the primary two forms, not going to the Ashta Bhairava or there are 64 Bhairavas also for the divisions. So these two forms, Bhairava Upasana automatically, specifically for Vatuk Bhairava for example, let's see that Vatuka is one form of Bhairava who sort of literally holds the keys to the inner sanctums of Lalita Mahatripura Sundari. Without his blessing and without the blessing of Mahaganapati, you will know all the mantras and processes, but you will not have the experience. He knows how to navigate that path and reach to a stage where there is a direct anubhuti of Lalita Tripur Sundari, and that's very, very subtle, very, very complicated also, because it's very subtle. Same way for Kala Bhairava, if you keep worshipping Kala Bhairava, his natural affinity of Kala Bhairava is to take a person towards the worship of Kali, Ma Kali or Ma Durga. Natural affinity. And in some cases it could be variations of these two primary Shaktis. Now balancing, I believe, there is no harm in worshipping a little bit of, as if you have spent few years doing Bhairava Upasana, so what happens is that if you have to worship another deity, there is a minimum count of the Bhairava Japa that will still continue. Along with that, you can do Shakti Upasana as per your your tendencies or as per directions of your Guru. Or if you are not aware of what to do, then the best option in my opinion is to do the 32 names of Ma Durga, which is something that is from the Shastras, it is kept open for anybody to do. It's you don't need a special permission for anybody to do that. Or even the Kamakhya Stotra, that is very beautiful if you keep doing that. So they bring certain amount of blessings, anugraha of the Devata into your life, and these are complementary, by the way. It is perfectly all right to have a greater affinity for one of the two. It's no harm in that. It's absolutely all right. And there is it doesn't work in the sense that the deities suffer from a sense of conflict. Any conflict is only in our own minds. It's not there. Each of them are complementary to the other. If somebody does a little bit of Bhairava Upasana, or maybe more of Bhairava Upasana and less of Devi Upasana, There is no harm in that. In fact, they gel together and they produce in certain, for example, certain paddhatis are there where say Durga Saptashati chanting is done, the Parayana of Durga Saptashati is done along with the mantras and Ashtottara Vaduk Bhairava. And it works with terrific speed. Terrific. I mean, triple the amount of speed. But mind you, I'm just saying it as an example. I do not mean that you start doing this from tomorrow. If you do it at your own risk. Because there are, Durga Saptashati is an amazing text. Very, very powerful and very beautiful. There's no doubt. But also it requires certain, best to take some guidance from somebody before you plunge into it. Same way, Bhairava sadhana can accelerate any of the Mahavidya sadhanas. And that includes even the obscure or the rare Mahavidyas, like say Chinnamasta or Ma Baglamukhi. All that sadhanas will enhance very quickly for an Upasaka if he does Bhairava sadhana. However, to do a Mahavidya sadhana, you will need some guidance or even Diksha that is there. So Devi Upasana is more complicated. In my view, Shiva Upasana is slightly easier. Slightly. I'm not saying at the highest level, but at least at the initial stages. Even Bhairava Upasana is much easier for most people to do than complicated levels of Devi Upasana. Devi Upasana is not, so Shiva is like a transcendental consciousness. So you step out of everything and you focus on one. Whereas Devi Upasana, what it does to your mind is that it expands your mind horizontally. So as, for example, in Tantra Sadhana, as you go into higher Dikshas, Krama Diksha and all, and go into higher Dikshas, so your volume of beings that you will have to worship will increase. It is not only Devi. Each time you sit for Devi Upasana, first you have to give some bhog to Vatuka, to Ganpati, to Yoginis, this, that, etc. There will be Matrikas. There are complicated pujas where 8 to 9 patras have to be set for. So Devi is not alone, never alone. She is not going to come alone. She will come with full regiment. And you have to know how to appease them also at the higher levels. But simple way Devi Upasana is, as I mentioned, you can do the Ma Durga Stutis, especially the 32 names of Ma Durga, very beautiful, very effective. You can do the Kamakhya Stotram or even the Adya Stotra of Ma Kali. These are absolutely safe to do, by the way. And that balance between how much to do which, either somebody guides you or you yourself develop a balance. Each of them are complementary. You will see that when one person does Devi Upasana and little bit of Bhairava Upasana is added into it, it increases the pace of Devi Upasana very fast. Same way, if somebody likes Bhairava Upasana, you will never be only into Bhairava. Bhairava will take you, definitely will take you into some or the other form of Devi sadhana. It is the way these things work. They are not very separate.
Sir, one thing I have experienced in my humble understanding, in my own experiences of the people I have seen around, if you've been a Shiva Bhakta, Bhairav is going to enter your life at some or the other stage. For some, it happens quickly, for some it happens later. For some it might never happen, but certainly if you've been into Shiva Upasana, Shiva Bhakti, the essence of protection of Bhairava will always be there. There will be an invisible hand. Because he is the Rakshak of all the Shiva Bhaktas. So for someone who is seeing this, because Bhairava still is new among people, especially I believe in certain parts of India, and they worship mostly the Shiva aspect, the Shankar aspect of Bhagwan. So for someone who is getting newly introduced into Bhairav, sometimes he can be left little surprised or not know what and how to react, because he is Shiva himself, just coming in a different form and entering into your life. I wanted to understand from you, sir, because he does come earlier or later. Is it our karmic debt? Is it our relation with the Devata in the previous birth which determines when he's going to come?
Yes, definitely. There is absolutely no doubt about that. That there is a certain degree of karmic debt with the Devatas that are there. And a very competent analysis of the grahas at birth can also give you an indication that who is suitable for Bhairava Upasana, who will go how far in Bhairava Upasana, like that. So these things, whatever the grahas indicate are only things which are repercussions of activities that were performed in past Purva Janma. So, and that could be positive or negative, does not matter. So, same way, some Devata karma has been done in the past that causes one to be born with certain kind of configurations that make an individual, take to Bhairav Upasana easier than others. That's one thing. And the other is, sometimes a Devata may suddenly decide to become more active in the earth plane. And when that happens, then regardless of the horoscope, lot of people will start seeing some or the other, not fully, but at least a proportional amount of effect and impact of Bhairav sadhana in their lives, and automatically that is going to pull them together. And that is precisely how this Bhairava Namajapa is spreading actually, because he is very active in this plane at this time. And that is why even anybody who starts with the simple Namajapa of Bhairava gets hooked onto it, and on their own they keep doing it for months and years. I mean, if it was for 5 days, 10 days, 11 days, I could understand. If you carry on for 6 months to 1 year, then definitely there is some contact you are making. Something is happening inside. That is why, the Upasaka carries on the japa. So Bhairav definitely comes both in Shiva and Shakti Upasana also. Shakti Upasana also without Bhairav is very tough to do. One can do, but succeeding is very tough. In fact, the greatest of Shaktas, the Siddha Mahapurusha of the Shakta Sampradaya, the list of the Siddhas, if you read their biography properly, you'll see that these are all Bhairav Sarup. These are all filled with Bhairav Tattva. They were born with Bhairav Tattva. That is why they became the Siddha in the Shakta path. Without having the Bhairav Tattva inside, and one of the best things about the Bhairav Tattva is that, the ability to carry on regardless of the obstacles. It is not that you will succeed all the time. It is not that you will not feel fear. So he makes you fearless, but nobody is going to be 100% fearless. Then you will not be alive in this plane. That you have a physical body, that you have experienced deaths in many lifetimes, that memory is stored somewhere in the subconscious. So some amount of fear will be there. But what Bhairava does is that he will teach you how to manage that fear. So you will fall down, you will get up, you will fall down, you will get up, you will fall down, you will get up. Like this you will keep carrying, until one day suddenly you realize that you have succeeded. This is very typical of what Bhairava does to the Upasaka. And this attitude is extremely potent, extremely important in going into the higher stage of Shakti Upasana. In one day, Shakti Upasana success or highest success is very tough, because her tests are brutal, to be honest. When she takes a person to the higher stages, she will test you to the last DNA before you actually go to the highest of the realms. And that is where the Tattva of Bhairava helps. In fact, some of the rare Devi Upasana, Devi Vigrahas, by the way, which is not ordinarily worshipped in Tantra, for example, there is a deity, there is a form of the mother, which is known as Kubjika, and she stands on Bhairava. There is a Navatman Bhairava on which she is standing. Her worship used to happen, at one point, her worship was there in Kamakhya also. Then the Paddhatis changed. So the deity in Kamakhya was also at one point identified with Kubjika. Kubjika is the hunchbacked goddess. She was considered as the queen of the Paschima Amnaya. Amnaya is one form of the tantric path. So the idea was, coming back to the point, if you do a Google, you will see that there is the Devi, and right below that there is Bhairava, and Bhairava is carrying her in the arms, which is basically an indication to the Upasaka that until you attain the Bhairava Tattva, you can't experience what this deity is. Bhairava is that integral. He is the one who has decided to come down into this plane. He is the divine in the physical plane, in this plane where everything is dark, everything is ignorant. Darkness is because of the ignorance. He is the one who can but he is divine. So he can change you. He can change you, and he can give you the capacity and the strength that is needed to go higher up. Whether one goes to Shiva as the final deity or whether one goes to Shakti as the final deity, that comes secondary. Whether the Ishvara Tattva takes precedence or the Ishvari Tattva takes precedence in Upasaka will come a little later. But initially, the formative stages, the Adhara, that is where Bhairava does a fantastic, it is his blessing that he creates the Adhara in any Upasaka.
Thank you, sir, for addressing that important question. One point you mentioned during the course of explanation was that Bhairava loves Shakti Upasana. I believe, sir, in terms of sadhana or upasana or puja, if you've continued for a certain span of time, then almost all deities have some keen affiliation towards the other devata, which you might experience sooner or later during the course of your sadhana. For example, if you have done Shiv Puja or Shiv Upasana for a long time, it may be natural that you will get some kind of inspiration from Bhagwan Ram coming your way, or vice versa. Similarly, it can happen for Ma Shakti also. If you've been a Shiv Upasak, Ma Shakti can very slowly come into your life and take over that role. But for a sadhak, for a sincere sadhak who has worshipped that particular swarup, that particular form of devata for a longer duration, it becomes a situation of great dilemma for him to shift his affiliation towards the devata. He has many questions. Even if the calling is very strong, still he'll have questions and stagnation whether he should switch to the other devata, towards the other devata or Devi's upasana, or continue with the mark which he has already been pursuing for a longer time. And in case, sir, if anyone gets the inspiration of switching the devata, for example, after a long duration of Ram Nam Jap, you get the inspiration of coming into Shiva Upasana, then what kind of a relation you should maintain with Bhagwan Ram, or for example, any other devata whose upasana from which you have switched to the other devatas, what kind of affiliation you should maintain with the devata? Very clearly you mentioned that the dilemma is always there in our mind. There is no confusion with the devata among themselves. But this situation when somebody is changing the devata who he or she has worshipped for years and years, so how he or she should tackle this kind of a dilemma situation, sir?
The first thing is that if a person has been worshipping a specific devata for a very long time and he or she has to change the devata, A, it is not a good idea. B, there has to be a very compelling reason for it. It does not happen just like that. You wake up one day. So there are two possibilities. One is that there are people who, at the initial stages of sadhana, who are generally of inconsistent mind. So they will try one sadhana for a few months and then shift to another. For them it does not matter. You can change all the devatas. None of them is going to bring you any specific result. But if you have been worshipping a devata and getting experiences for years or decades even, then if it has to be shifted, then has to be a very compelling, powerful experience, and that will involve even the deity, even the devata that you are worshipping already. He or she will push that individual into the other path. It will not be that suddenly some external force will come and tell you. It cannot be, because your consciousness or the upasaka's consciousness is so attached to this deity. Only if this devata gives you the permission and tells you that no, now you have to do this, only then it will happen. Otherwise the mind or the consciousness will not be able to do it. Very rare case it happens, but it is possible. And even then, a little bit of the dhyana and japa and concentration of the upasaka will still be attributed to the previous deity, which means that minimum amount of sadhana will also still carry on with the devata you have worshipped till now, and then along with it you can do another upasana. So here a point needs to be mentioned, even in when doing sadhanas, that is, as a person goes deeper, you form a connection to one deity, and suppose that devata becomes your ishta. Ishta devata is somebody, ishta means he or she who does good to you. Okay, so that contact eventually builds up. It's not about something verbal. When you experience the deity consistently over years, it builds up. Now, while you have a certain devata as ishta, it may be required in the flow of things at certain point for you to worship another deity. That could be a temporary worship also. Sometimes it happens. For a few months you have to worship the devata. You may not know how long, but you have to follow the guidance in the instruction that comes. In these few months, the Mula Devata whom you worship, their worship will still carry on, but in a little lesser format. Then after this specific period of time, this deity upasana goes on, or for whatever purpose you had to do this sadhana, that purpose is solved, or that purpose comes to the conclusion, then again your Mula Devata upasana resurfaces back. This also happens. And there is a last, rarest thing that is possible. That's so rare that only one example I have come across till now of that, and that too in a book among the disciples of Sri Ramana Maharishi, who was a great Advaitin saint, those who know he used to be in Arunachala. So one of his disciples, he was from Punjab actually. It's a long story, I'll just cut it down to the gist of it. So he was a Vaishnava, he used to do a lot of Krishna Japa and Lord Rama Japa, to the extent every day from 2 a.m. at night till morning 8 he used to do Japa, and then he used to go to his office and this and that. He was very, very deeply spiritual, and from a childhood he used to have experiences of deities. And Krishna used to literally play with him, that type of experience. He was in a state of bliss. And by some events and set of circumstances, he ends up from Punjab into Chennai. And from Chennai, he goes and visits Ramana Maharishi and is completely unimpressed by Ramana, because Ramana is a typical Advaitin. He is sitting down quietly and is not, and he asks him a very funny question, by the way. During a conversation, he tells Sri Ramana Maharishi that I worship Krishna, and little bit with some amount of pride also, because he is not an ordinary Upasaka. He says that when I call him, he comes and we play together, and it's so blissful. So Ramana says that, oh, that's wonderful. Says that, where is Krishna now? He said, no, when I call him, then he comes. So then Bhagavan, people call him Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi. So he says that, what kind of a God is this, that he is present now and is absent tomorrow? Okay. If he's here, he's here. Or if he's not here, he's not here. So this gentleman, he gets very irritated by this question. So he thinks that this man is a fraud. Ye kuch nahi aata hai. May not have that amount of experience. A lot of people today sit together with disciples, who knows what is it. So he goes back to his home, not bothered about it. Few months later, as he's doing japa, very intense japa by the way, remember 2 a.m. at night he used to get up till 8, constantly is doing japa. Then he goes to his office, he used to work I think in railways or somewhere, comes back, and those days too there was thankfully no mobile and internet, so people used to go to sleep by 7, 8. So life was easier. And this thing goes on. Then one day he has a divine experience where he sees at 3 a.m. at night somebody knocking at his door. So he opens the door, and there's a man standing, very tall, peculiarly dressed. There's a lady standing, and there's another man standing, and they say that we have come to visit you. And he says he thinks that it's his relatives perhaps from his village. Kahin se to aaya hoga. So he asked that, did you send any letter that you were coming? I could have come and received you. Which train is this? Something like this he asked. And they smile and they say that, no, we have come from Ayodhya. Somebody told that there's a great Krishna devotee here. So we just came to see who is it. And saying that, they vanished. So he puts it down ki ye kuch to bhram hoga mind ka, something. But from that day, he sees this very peculiar condition that he is not able to do any japa. He can't take the name of Rama, he can't take the name of Krishna, he can't take any mantra, and all the experiences of the devatas he has had till now, everything stopped. And he goes literally crazy. He goes from every Swami, every sadhu in Chennai, he goes and asks that what happened? Why have my experiences stopped? Somebody told him, kuch hoga black magic vagara tumhare upar kiya gaya, who knows what is it? So he is out of his mind, he doesn't know what to do. Suddenly the thought comes to him that there is that madman who stays in Tiruvannamalai who had asked that funny question. Maybe he knows. So as a last resort, he goes there and to ask him. Ramana is sitting, wearing his cope in his, sitting in the Arunachala, and looks at him and says that, so just one question he asked, how did you come to this ashram? He said that, why, I took a train from Chennai, and once I got down to the station, I took a bullock cart, and the bullock cart brought me here. So then Ramana asks him that, so where is the bullock cart now? So he just left. So then Ramana says that your mantras are the bullock cart. They have brought you here, their job is done, they have left. And then he does something and he enters into the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the gentleman. And he realizes the Brahman. That is a very rare state. Very, 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 one in millions. If that ever happens to an individual, then all your, whatever you have worshipped, not worshipped, everything will go into a different thing altogether. But I'm just mentioning this for the sake of completeness of the answer. This is unlikely to happen to anybody, but this is also possible.
One of the common phrases during the course of this conversation which we have come across is experience, realization. In fact, the theme also of the program happens to be Devata Anubhuti. Sir, in my personal opinion, and to a lot of people who I speak to, uh, once they start with their course of sadhana, or the journey of sadhana, they get a lot of experiences in the form of dreams. Some call it six senses. What you're thinking right now is happening tomorrow. It becomes true tomorrow. Also, what I've realized, sir, that these experiences over a period of time take over the importance of sadhana itself. The people are more inclined and concentrated towards the experiences that they are having rather than on the process and paddhati of the sadhana that has to be followed. How should one balance, how should one look at these experiences as they are coming their way? I had a priest, sir, in our temple. He had happened to be our relative also. So he very metaphorically once told me that when you're doing sadhana, then the sadhana that you're doing is your partner, is your wife. The experiences that you are getting out of the sadhana is like your daughter. And when you are sharing these experiences with someone, it's like you're sharing the daughter with them. Very metaphorical, harsh words. So the point I was making this, how appropriate in fact it is to share your own experiences with the other people. If you can, sir, throw light on this.
This is again more, I feel that it's a complicated question because it's not a simple yes or no. So first thing is that yes, when you have an experience initially, it is good not to share it. But you must have the understanding of the experience. That is also important. So if you have the capacity to understand, if you don't, then you share it with your guru. Your guru is capable, he or she will guide you and tell you what it means. This is one approach if you have a guru who can guide you. If you don't have a guru, then don't ruminate on the experience. Enjoy the experience, don't get attached to it, and if it is meant to cause something, then let it unfold on its own. Don't go around trying to do certain things or not doing certain things. So far as revealing experiences, yes, initial stages, if you reveal the experiences, they will be lost. Because there is a thing in the spiritual world called the adhikara. Adhikara is the world, and spiritual is not a democracy. So it is not about rights here. So if you say that I have a right to this, you have a right to nothing. You have a right to only whatever you have earned via your tapasya and sadhana. That's all. So tomorrow if you go in front on a mountain top and keep shouting that I want answers to my questions in life, no one is going to answer back to you. The world does not care. Faster you learn this, the faster, the happier you will be in life. So idea is, if you share your experiences with somebody else who did not have the experience, you are violating that adhikara. Because nature has given you that experience. If it was meant for that XYZ individual, it would have come to that individual. It did not. At the same time, there's a balance that is required, because if you don't understand what the experience is, or if there is some affirmative action that needs to be taken, so if you at all have to share it with your guru, or if there is an uttar sadhaka that you can trust to keep the experience to yourself, then you share it with them and see if there is any activity that needs to be done based on the experience. This is point number one. Second point is that after a certain number of years pass by and the nature of that experience has already been realized into the physical plane, into your life, and well absorbed into your system, and that could be many years, by the way, it could be 5, 10, 15, 20, depends. Then it is okay to speak of the experience. Why? That is because it is already, whatever effect it was supposed to have has already come into your life. There's nothing more that will come. Even then, one has to use discrimination to understand that what experience can be spoken of, what experience should not be spoken of. And from my anubhuti, from my experience, from my journey, I have had the maximum number of spiritual experiences in and around Kamakhya. And of that, there are a good 50 to 60% that I don't speak of, because I can't speak. And I can't speak even to the best of my friends or anybody. And it will happen to anybody. If you have the intensity of the experience will be so tremendous that the moment you try to speak, it will, something or the other will, it will come into you, into your soul that no, stop. There are things that cannot be spoken of. There are some you can speak, which has been absorbed into your life, but the things you cannot speak, not until nature. And nature is your devata. Whoever you are worshipping is nature. He or she becomes everything. He or she allows you to speak. Or if you have a good guru under whom you are doing sadhana, then the guru can guide you what experiences to speak, what not to speak. So general thumb rule is it is better not to speak at the initial stages.
Sir, I know of someone who has recently started with his journey of sadhana. In a very short span of time, the kind of experiences that he has shared with me, some of which I have also seen in my own capacity, the things that he tells me today happens tomorrow. If somebody in a very short span of sadhana journey is experiencing these things coming his way, is that to do with the kind of relation he might have shared with the Devata in his previous life? And for someone who is being bombarded with these experiences at such an early stage of this journey, what's the right path and conduct for such a person?
Yes, so definitely when there are cases when where there are people who have very elaborate psychic experiences, and very recently I was speaking to somebody who is one of the most detailed psychic experiences that have happened to that individual across the individual's life, and it is remarkable if one hears them. But the key here is that obviously if it's a child, or even not just a child, because in spirituality everybody is a child actually, because this is not a field you know anything much of. As you go deeper, you experience and you understand. So any field that you don't know much, everybody is a child in that field, in a way, of manner of speaking. So it is important therefore to inculcate in people the idea that your upasana you carry on without breaking. Number one. Number two, slowly develop what is known as the witness consciousness. You see everything, whatever is happening, all the experiences, take it, but don't get too attached to it, neither run away from it. Don't say that I want to stop the experiences, neither get too bothered by it. It takes some time, and it takes some guidance, by the way. On their own, people will not be able to reach that state. There has to be somebody, a mentor or something who can guide them, but that is the best attitude to take when some people whose psychic abilities are naturally well developed due to sadhanas or purvajanma samskaras that they have done. The problem comes in some individuals where they have very high psychic ability, but they don't do any sadhana. Then absorbing this becomes very difficult because they have no anchor. So one after the other, they are flooded with experiences, and the mind is completely root of every problem, and the solution to every problem is the human mind. So the mind is curious, ye mere saath kyun ho raha hai? You are going to 10 different people, 10 people will give you 10 advices, you will get more confused, you don't know what to do. And then the question, this why question, why is it happening? There are no answers to whys. Nature doesn't answer any whys. Unless you reach nature is this very strict teacher, in a way like Bhairav Baba only. He's got full accountancy done on what are the balance sheet. Until you reach a stage where you are fit to take the answer to the why is not going to come to you. You can break your head on the wall, you can go jump from a mountain, you can do whatever, you can ask everybody, still the answer won't come. So the smart idea is to train the mind to understand that there are some things that happen. You may not understand everything, why it is happening. Focus on the paddhati of the sadhana, focus on developing a shraddha, a love for the devata whom you are worshipping, and let the experiences happen on its own, but develop a certain degree of witness consciousness, which means like a sakshi bhava, like you are witnessing what is happening, you are witnessing all the experiences, but you don't get too attached to them. It takes time, but this is the best solution in these kind of cases, I feel.
Thank you, sir, for answering the question. Today, as I see, sir, in fact, in the form also which all the participants were requested to fill, at the one end of spectrum, we had beginners who were just starting with their journey of sadhana, And on the other side of the spectrum were those people who are now moving towards being maybe called as seasoned sadhaks, seasoned campaigners. They have completed lakhs of japas and have been very disciplined and consistent with their approach towards the Paddhati. I would like to touch a little on the other side of the spectrum. We always talk about the beginners, it is important, but for those, sir, who have been doing it meritoriously, doing it sincerely, and now they've reached to a certain threshold in terms of the count of japas also, what kind of practices they can bring into their day-to-day routine to ensure that stagnation does not come into practice, and to ensure that the graph of growth which is there, that it remains consistent, and the person also has a sense of fulfillment while he's moving on that journey.
So, firstly, again coming to taking the example of the graph that I mentioned, so for a very long enough journey, there is always going to be some patches that will be dry. So do not pin yourself ki I need to have always an experience. The craving for the experience will also be a blockage at one point. So there will be times when there will be no experience, nothing will happen, absolutely nothing. Not even the wind will not move, even the leaf will not move, nothing will happen. Still, still, still. Even then you have to carry on the sadhana. To reach that stage, you make the Devata Upasana an integral part of your life. Like the way you every day have to eat food, like the way you have to, go to office or whatever, anything else, that type of an activity that has to be done every day. Whether you enjoy it, whether you are not enjoying it. Because every sadhana that is done, even if it is done in a little bit without an experience of it, it still creates an impression in the subconscious. It keeps building up to the extent eventually when the right time comes, when the correct configuration of things fall into place, then all this will make a difference. Now, if somebody has already done lakhs of japa, the next logical step to take for them is, so two things will happen. One is that they can start additionally some bit of Devi Upasana if one has been doing Bhairav Upasana along with it. And the other thing is to make Bhairav Upasana or any Devata Upasana more deeper. The next stage automatically is what I call the Anushtans that have to be done. Which means there is a huge difference, by the way, generally doing a japa for Devata and when you do an Anushtan of the same mantra. Because the moment you do Anushtan, there are many rules that set into place. So you have to do a certain number of japa, then there is homa, tarpana, marjana, etc. ityadi. Processes are there to be learned, and it's not too difficult to learn also. Once you learn how to do Anushtan of the same mantra, do not change the mantra. 3 to 4 Anushtans if you can do in span of 2-3 years, it is not possible that you will not have experiences. Either your sadhana will stop or 100% experiences will start. Because that pushes the envelope a little bit more. And Anushtans, by the way, require a steady, disciplined mind. So Anushtan is a test of discipline. The moment you take the sankalpa that I have to do this in so many days, such a sadhana, and initially you start small, do for say 5 days, 10 days. Once you acquire the habit of doing under a sankalpa, then you extend it larger. And then you kind of, you do it, you learn, if you can learn how to do a homa, even a simple paddhati homa, nothing complicated. Then you do how to do tarpana, and eventually you have to do bhojanam, which is you have to feed people. That is very important. Connected to the deity, which means if you are worshipping Vatuk Bhairava, it is extremely good to feed little children, especially boys, but any children for that matter. If you can't find children, if you can't find the appropriate people, then you feed, go to a Veda Pathshala and do bhojanam. You feed, speak to the people, you take a sankalpa that you have done this Anushtan for the Preeti of the Devata, you do that. Like this, if you do a few Anushtan, the mantra's magic will start. It is not possible that after 2-3 Anushtans properly done by the book, that's very important. The paddhatis are so strong, these paddhatis, that if you do it by the book, it is not possible that you will not have experiences. It will recharge you in a way. In fact, the Tantrokta Paddhati of mantra sadhana used to be this, that once somebody has the diksha of the Ishtadevi normally, then you start doing Anushtan and Purushcharan of the mantra. And depending on the sampradaya, some of the older sampradayas used to have this rule that so Tantra has gradations of Diksha. So there is Shaktavishek, there is first the Upadesham, Shaktavishek, Kramadiksha, Purnavishek, this, that, etc. Between each gradation, you have to complete certain number of mantra purushcharan of the deity. And one deity only, you don't need to switch deities. You don't even need to switch mantras. In Srividya, in Kramadiksha, there are mantras will change, but eventually the point is that same Devata. So you will realize two things once you do start Purushana. For example, one of the very old sampradayas of Kalikula had this niyama that once your first stage of Diksha is over, to go to the next stage, and this rule used to be there about 100, 150 years ago. Nowadays it's relaxed more. So you needed to complete 7 mantra Purushcharans, not 1 to 7, by the book. Mantra Purushcharans, that too on specific places they will tell you. For example, see, all this I am telling is only for people who have completed lakhs of japa. So which by then you are already comfortable with the mantra, there is a certain degree of discipline, you are serious about the upasana. So these are the next stages that you go into. So there the tantras mention that what are the places you should do Purushcharana. First you do at your home, then if possible, if you have a guru, do at the guru's house. Then if there's a goshala, you sit in the goshala and do it. If there is a kshetram of the deity, then you do it. If you're doing Bhairava Upasana, sit in Kashi and do mantra Purushchar. If you're doing Devi Upasana, sit in a Shakti Pitha and do. If not, you go into an Ekalinga and then do it. It's like this. Gradations are there. And they used to say that initially, so every time you're doing a Purushcharana, you're generating by the repetition of the mantra and making the mantra pass through all the Panchatatvas, you are creating a certain power. This power, this prana, this energy that you are generating is feeding beings. What beings are being fed? First is that in your kula, all the devatas who have not been worshipped, they are feeding that energy. Number 2, beings and devatas who are surrounding in the environment, they are feeding on that energy. Number 3, if there are any atripta Pitrus and others, they are feeding on the energy. First Purushcharana only goes to other people. It doesn't even stick to the Upasaka. 4th Purushcharana onwards, the energy will start sticking to you. Then you will realize, if at all anybody does the 7 these days even, they also don't do it because everybody is in a hurry. But somebody does it by the book. The method is so powerful, so powerful. In fact, I would say it is so powerful a method that has been created, you don't need to believe in it. It is not even required that you have to believe I have to get XYZ result. You follow it by the book. Few Purushcharana you do of the mantra. It is not possible that you will not start having a completely changed perspective of looking at what is mantra sadhana. And you will realize why the tantras keep saying that the mantra is the devata. Mantra hi devata hai. The mantra is the devata. The moment you change the mantra, the form of the deity changes. What it exactly means you will know once you do Anushtans and Purushchans. But this Purushchan is a higher form of thing, Anushthan is a smaller thing. This is to be only applicable for people who have been doing for do cheez hai. Ek hai ki you have done lots of lakhs of japa. Number 2, few years. That is very important. I repeat all the time, discipline and patience. At least 2 to 3 years you have done japa, only then you enter into these things. Do not, just because 6 months you have sat and done a lot of japa and you start doing Anushthan. No, Anushthan is a serious matter because you have to take a sankalpa. So if you cannot run away in the middle of the Anushthan. Pura complete karna hai. Whether you have Shraddha Bhakti, if you have it, very good. If you don't have it, still you have to do it by the book. If you do it by the book, the method is so powerful. If you do it 3 to 4 times, it's impossible that you will not have experience. It's impossible. And in fact, one of the most Anushtans I used to do was Vatuk Bhairava. Vatuk Bhairava Anushthan, if you do, and since we are speaking of Bhairava, he is one of the fastest deities. He will show you results you cannot imagine. He will show you results. It's like you will have no further doubts. You don't have to ask anybody. Such things you will see, and he will, if you do it by the book, Vatuk Bhairava Anushthan, he works with lightning speed. Among the devatas, he is one of the fastest forms. Fastest. And then you won't have this question only, I have done so many japa and what is happening, etc. That question will not arise. So next stage after doing a lot of japa is do it in the discipline, in the form of the Anushthan that is there. The method that is to be followed. Isme again, it comes back to the same thing I tell you. Follow the methods that the great acharyas, traditions, sampradayas have been doing. Don't innovate into that. Just follow that, because that is a path that shows the result. We already know that it works because there are people who have done it and have reached the correct destination. Now you cannot reform a route where you only yourself have not reached, how will you make a new route? So follow what has already been done and you are more or less safe.
Thank you, sir, for that comprehensive and detailed answer. It has answered 3 or 4 of my follow-up questions also. I'm sure a lot of people will benefit out of it. Before I come to the concluding question, I want to ask, sir, the nature or the right approach towards a sadhana should be surrender towards the Devata or Devi. But when we say surrender to Devi or Devata, what are we essentially meaning? Is it like giving the key to our lives or leaving everything in his own hand, forgetting about Purushartha? What is the right essence of the meaning of the word surrender to deity in the general aspect and the larger aspect of the sadhana which one is doing, the faith, the unshakable faith which one is holding towards the Devata? How one should look at this term surrender in the course of this sadhana journey and how important this is?
Things like surrender, things like jnana, bhakti sound very simple, but they're most complicated. That is why nobody is able to do it. Very frankly, if somebody's jnana, bhakti, surrender, any one of this was perfected, you would not need to do any sadhana. You take the name of Shiva, Shiva comes in front of you. And literally, and not those kind of experiences ki I've seen a lot of things, but exactly the way I am, kuch parivartan nahi ho raha hai, waisa nahi. It is transformative experiences can happen, the deity can come, because the names, Sanskrit names are mantras. That is the beauty of Sanskrit, right? Even the name of the Devata is the mantra of the Devata. But it does not happen because we have impurities. Neither is our jnana, nor bhakti, nor sharanagati is perfected. It is something that develops as you keep doing sadhana. So I feel that the concept of surrenderance to the Devata at the initial stages is never perfect, and it is unrealistic to expect somebody that you will have full surrender to the deity. It's actually that creates a kind of a delusion, a lie in the mind that I have fully surrendered. But whether you surrender or not is only known by the activities that you perform. A man is to be judged by what he does, not what he says. Saying is very easy. Doing is a different matter altogether. So surrender are things better than surrender, in my opinion. Surrender is a tough thing. Tough in the sense complete Sharanagati comes when completely the ego is finished. And that is so tough that, I mean, in lakhs and lakhs of people perhaps, and lakhs of upasakas, and not even ordinary people, one in them may be able to completely finish off his ego. Achha, here one thing has to be understood, and this is a little complicated. When we say that the ego has to be finished, if you really understand what the ego finishes for everybody at one point in life. That is the moment of death. That is where Mahakal comes and cuts off your physical ego. Ego is something that holds you together, makes you an individual. You are who you are, and you are functional in this world because you have your ego. But what the aim of sadhana is that you change the limited ego that you have, the sense of I-ness is your ego. Change that into the ego of the Devata, which is a very complicated idea. The deity has his own realm and domain. He is not limited, he is unlimited, he or she, whoever it is. So when the ego of this again comes in another format, in another text, other texts, the Chit Shakti of the Upasaka merges, the Kundalini merges with the Chit Shakti, with the force of the deity, then you are not you anymore. So eventually what happens, the same thing is mentioned, for example, in many of our scriptures, that you have to worship Shiva, you have to become Shiva. You have to worship Shakti, you have to become like that. And in fact, in some of the older Shaiva texts, they mention that what is enlightenment? It is the way that ordinary spirits sometimes possess people, same way Shiva possesses an individual. When Shiva possesses an individual, that is enlightenment. Okay. So this happens basically when the normal ego is transcended. That is surrenderance. When your ego is gone, then you are just a vehicle of transmission of the power of the Devata whom you are worshipping. And it is a very high state. It's very difficult to reach. What is more important is, as you keep doing sadhana, you read on the deity. You read about the glories of the Devata. That helps to tune your mind towards a greater sense of devotion and love. Very, very important. You have to start loving the deity. You start loving, and that too you will know what is loving the deity. It is again not a one-day thing, because their understanding of love, trust, emotions is very different from human idea. Human ideas are all superficial. The reason why deities don't like coming to humans is primarily because humans are inconsistent. So they wait, say 1000 days of sadhana. It shows your commitment. The deity, his or her parivara devatas, they take notice ki, okay, if you have been able to do consistently for 1000 days, that means there is some merit, some depth perhaps in the person. That ability to be consistent without changing, constantly superficially changing, no. To stick to something, carry on, carry on, carry on. It shows commitment. When there is that, then these things, actually surrenderance is the last of all the things, if you ask me. Complete surrenderance to the deity comes very end, but develop that love for the deity. And slowly that will change the individual. As he or she changes, then all the other things, surrenderance comes, jnana comes automatically, bhakti comes, all these things will be added to the upasaka.
Sir, we often hear that journey is more important than the destination. But for someone who's just beginning with his sadhana, what should be his focus? What should be his destination? Where should he aim at? Where he should look at? Is it mantra siddhi? Is it devata siddhi? Is it both? Is it neither? What should be his constant approach and target which he should have while he's coming to follow this long run marathon where he's supposed to run daily few steps, daily few meters? It's not going to happen overnight. What belief system one should start with this process or enter into this process that it helps him reach to that eventual destination or that final landmark or cross point?
At a theoretical level, you will have a lot of ideas initially that I want liberation or I want. So when you are doing mantra sadhana, the aim is, at least in theory, you have to aim to reach what is called devata siddhi. Devata siddhi is a step by, it's not a one-stop thing, there are steps to which one reaches, and there are various kinds of liberations, by the way. This is a form of mukti as well. When devata siddhi is considered, one should not be attach wrong connotations to the word siddhi, as it has happened that some magic show is happening. No, devata siddhi is something that transforms an individual. So as one grows closer to it, to the deity, he or she starts transforming, comes into the loka of the deity. That is one form of mukti. Then he or she starts entry into one of the, the parivaras of the deity. That is another form of mukti. Then there is the third, where the upasaka starts looking like the deity. Looking means not just physically looking. It's almost unrecognizable. And there are evidences of this from the Puranas of great beings, not just beings, great, almost devatas, who are described that they start behaving and looking so indistinguishable from what they worship, from the main devata they worship. And finally one becomes one with the deity. You become what you worship at the end of the journey. You will become, if the journey is completed, you will become one with the devata. You will become what you worship, and the nature of the deity will start coming. At the initial stages, therefore, it is good, A, to develop a discipline. B, it is very helpful if you have at least a few other people who are also upasakas, because it helps to motivate people at the initial stages that, okay, you are doing this amount of sadhana, you did this, etc., etc. A kind of community feeling helps people, which is, it happens with everybody, initial stages. But finally, the aim has to be that you transform yourself into a state of complete oneness with the devata. You become a state, or here don't make distinctions. So here is theologically, some sampradayas will say, no, we don't like merging into the deity, we will stay a little away from the deity, the bhakti rasa has to be there. All that is fine. Whether you come here or you sit next to the deity doesn't matter. So long as you are able to enter into his aura, he or her aura, that will already transform you. That is the aim. After one point, you will not have a conscious aim. Nature will set the aim, nature will tell you how much to go, what to do, what not to do. Your point is to reach up to that state. And that state is for lack of other words, very simply, to attain a communion with the Devata. Devata Siddhi, first step.
Thank you, sir, for this beautiful answer. With this, we come to the end of the set of questions we had. We'll take some questions from the audience. We have one mic. We have limited time. So I'll request the cooperation and patience of the audience. And also a disclaimer that please stick to spiritual and sadhana oriented question which you might be encountering in your personal experience. So we'll have one mic which will be going, and just from the audience, if anyone has a question, please raise your hand. One by one we'll try to come to you for them. Mic, please. Please, can we have a mic for the audience? Gentlemen.
Yeah, Namaskar, Harji, and Pranam, Rajshri Dada. So my question is that, what and how the beginner sadhak should, proceed on the sadhana path if they don't have a guru's initiation. And just to add to this point or this fact, what about the karmic blockages? How, those deter the sadhana or the sadhak's, paddhati going forward?
May I know your name?
My name is Karan Sumbli, sir.
And you are from?
I'm not from Banaras. I came just to, witness you and, seek some wisdom from you, sir.
Wonderful. So, Guru is the one question that comes always, and that has a very, very hackneyed answer, something that you must have heard 100 times, but that is actually the best answer. So, which is that initial stages you do those sadhanas which can be done without a Guru. Number one point. Number two is that you have developed patience that, to find the right Guru. Three, spend time meeting people, physically meeting people. A lot of people have this idea that I need a Guru, but all they do is that sit in front of the computer and I want a Guru, I want a Guru. Computer screen se nikal ke to Guru nahi aayega. You have to spend time going and meeting people across India. So suppose you want a Vaishnava Diksha, okay. So it's natural intelligence that I will go to the Vaishnava Pithas. Say I go to Vrindavan, I go to Mathura, or I go to, in South there are the Vaishnava Pithas. I go and meet the Upasakas there, spend time there, don't be in a hurry. Observe carefully what they are doing, how they are behaving, how do you feel about it. Take enough time, 6 months to 1 year. Meanwhile, at the same time, you keep doing some upasana of the Devata, जिनके रास्ते पे आपको चलना है, जो साधना जिनका करना है. Keep doing those upasanas जो बिना गुरु के हो सकते हैं. And you keep observing people. If you do this, more or less, you will find some of the other guru. And the last thing to remember, at this age, there is no perfect guru. Okay, so do not have very theoretical ideas about ki we read all sorts of ideas that guru is going to come and magically everything will transform. No, it is not going to happen that way. But Guru is important. Without Guru, you will not know the paddhatis, you will not know many things. And since my path is Tantra Sadhana mein to 200% important. 200% important Guru. There is, without the Guru, you can't take steps, higher steps. But have a realistic understanding that even though the Guru is divine, the Guru, he or she will also have a human aspect. So don't let that cloud your judgment. At the same time, never lose common sense. But in order to find the Guru, you have to go meet people first and take time. 6 months, 1 year. At the same time, keep doing sadhana of the Devata you are worshipping and pray to the deity that find me a Guru. This is your first question answer. Second is, karmic blockages will always be there for everybody somewhere or the other. As you keep doing a sadhana, it slowly reduces the blockages. And there are some blockages like Pitru related problems, Sarpa related problems. These have to be solved separately. No amount of japa will solve them. Deities will not touch your Pitru related issues. They will not touch your Sarpa related matters. That have to be solved correctly in the right kshetra, in the right puja paddhati that has to be done. So whoever the Purohitas are there, they will know it. Accordingly, you have to get, if somebody has those issues, those have to be resolved in that correct way only.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for enlightening.
Anyone else who has a question?
Right here.
Okay. Please go ahead.
Namaskar Harji, Namaskar Rajshri ji. I'm Venkatesh Albal. I have come from Bijapur, Karnataka. I'm doing the sadhana of Shakhambari Devi. I do have a guru. I have my question is a two-part question. One question is when I am doing my mantra japa, is there a specific place that I am supposed to sit at, or any place is fine? Because many a times I do travel, and there are times where I don't know where to sit and do my mantra japa. And there are times where there are a lot of people around me. And is it necessary that you are supposed to hide your japamala while doing the japa?
Okay, this is a very simple question. First is that you see according to your convenience that where you can sit for your japa. Always preferable to face sitting east or north, unless somebody is doing some specific type of, some sadhanas are there when you have to face other directions. But generally rule is east or north, number one. Number two is that do not be too fussy. I mean, I can't really say that what is the best thing to do for you as an individual, because I don't know your lifestyle. So where you travel or where you are sitting, etc. So basically sit towards any east or, north.
I am actually also doing, through my Guruji, I am also doing Shani Maharaj Upasana as well.
Yeah,
so I tend to sit towards the west direction while doing the...
So those have to be done as per Guru's instructions. There is that. So once you take, once your Guru gives you an instruction, you don't need to ask about that or cross-verify that from anywhere else. So if you do that, that means that you are not having complete faith on the instruction. Then that itself is going to cause, problems in your sadhana. So either have full faith. When you have full faith, then you don't need to check with anybody else. Specifically, if you are doing Devi Upasana and you already have a Guru, it is good to follow that, number one. Number two is that, what was
the
Japamala?
Japamala. Do I have to hide the Japamala while doing the...
If you are aiming for Mantra Siddhi, you will have to hide the Japamala. If you just want to continue the sadhana, which is okay, many people do that, then no need to hide the Japamala.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Anyone else from the audience?
प्रणाम राजश्री जी, मेरा नाम अजय है, मैं नोएडा से आया हूँ। मेरी फैमिली के अंदर कुछ ट्रेजेडी हुआ, उसके बाद बेसिकली मैं अध्यात्म की तरफ गया, और जब इट वाज नॉट मंत्र जपा, इट वाज बेसिक मेडिटेशन एंड एवरीथिंग, तो उसके बाद आई स्टार्टेड रियलाइजिंग द अमाउंट ऑफ नेगेटिव थॉट्स दैट आई गेट, एंड I started thinking about doing tantra, but then I fear that I might misuse them. So how do we go about when we know ourselves that there are a lot of negative things, or there is a negative side to us? And that's something which bothers me, because I don't want to get into a situation where I go even much at a lower stage than going up.
So first thing is that, why are you assuming that you will attain any kind of power that you have misused? To baat ka baat hai. So this idea that you will do tantra sadhana and you will attain some kind of ability, that itself is a presumption. It is not at all easy to attain these abilities. While various fantastic ideas people have in India specifically, that हम लोग कुछ मंत्र साधना कर लिया, कुछ ability आ गया, इतना आसान नहीं है. It's very tough. It's possible, a lot of people get it, but it's tough, number one. Number two is that, so if you have doubts, there's no compulsion that you have to do, tantra sadhana. So you follow bhakti marg of a deity. Even when you are doing stuti of the devata, anybody, suppose for example, there is a simple bhakti upasana, so there's no chance of it being misused in any way. Stuti can never be misused. Worst to worst होगा कि आपका कुछ result नहीं आ रहा है. Worst case में, it will never be misused. And the other thing is that, so far as a person seeing ki there is some negative side inside me, everybody has it. It's good to be aware of it. It's good to think that, okay, first is awareness. Number two is the willingness to change that. And there, two factors will come in. One is that your own effort will, and the other is the anugraha of the devata whom you are worshipping. Now, if somebody does only meditation, you need to have terrific amount of self-control to be able to change oneself, or at least the blessings of a guru will be needed. So there is no, do not think like this that you will be misusing anything. To misuse something, first you have to attain something. The attainment itself is not easy. And tantra sadhana अगर किसी को करना है तो बिना गुरु के तो संभव ही नहीं है. So assuming that you have a good guru, then it becomes the responsibility of the guru to ensure that you do not reach in a path where you cause some kind of negative either to yourself or to anybody else.
Hello sir, I'm from Mumbai. My name is Panchali. I have a very simple question. I would like to know the difference between Ma Chandi and Adi Shakti.
Okay. Adi Shakti, as the name suggests, is the primordial form in the Shakta conception of the universe. The highest form of Shakti is Adi Shakti, from which everything else has come. The Devatas, Asuras, the worlds, everything. Now Adi Shakti is something that any of the Mahavidyas can become Adi Shakti. In fact, the first three Mahavidyas are definitely all of them can become Adi Shakti, can become. So mark the words that I am using. It does not mean that everybody who is worshipping the first three Mahavidyas are worshipping Adi Shakti. It is very important to observe the Upasaka and see whom you are worshipping. I mean, there are people who can say that, okay, I don't worship deities, massive, I worship only the Brahman and the infinite. लेकिन उसका कुछ reflection उसमें आता ही नहीं है, उसको आता ही नहीं है Brahman क्या है? It's just a word. The idea is that any of the Mahavidyas can transcend and become the Adi Shakti. It is always important to observe who is worshipping. And from the Upasaka itself, you will realize that is the Upasaka actually worshipping Adi Shakti or worshipping something else? Because words don't mean a thing. What you worship, its reflection will come into you or the person, and the reflection will also be visible around the individual. As you do sadhana, your mind opens up, discrimination opens up to the anugraha of the devata. Then you will know, doesn't matter what a person says, he can say 100 theories and he may quote 200 books, but by observing the individual silently in their smallest of gestures, subconscious activities, the environment around them, you will know 100% who is he worshipping. What? Is it Adi Shakti? Is it something less, etc.? So Adi Shakti is something that is beyond description. Chandi can become Adi Shakti. Kali can become Adi Shakti. Tara can become Adi Shakti. Tripur Sundari is already in Srividya Adi Shakti. So any of them can become Adi Shakti. So that's what.
Namaskar. My name is Parishmita. Sir, my question is, what is the concept of morality in the spiritual realm, and is there any difference between human morality and spiritual morality? Thank you.
Sir, just before you answer the question, I would request to please collect the mic once the question is asked, because we want as many people to be covered for the questions. The mic should not rotate around one table. Please get the mic from the participants once their question is done.
So, okay. At the initial, this is a very philosophical question. This is not specifically related to any Devata Upasana, but not just morality, ethics, and the basic ideas of human existence that we commonly agree upon, which comes under the concept of the Samanya Dharma, is very important to streamline human existence into something meaningful. That is very important, number one. And it is important, that is why it is followed across the world, not just in India. Every culture has had its own set of moral codes, ethical and moral codes. For example, cheating is bad everywhere, not just in India. It was bad in Egypt, it was bad in Greece, it is bad in Europe, it's bad in India, it's bad in Japan. If you cheat, any type of cheating, financial cheating, this, that, etc. Murder is bad. So these moral codes are well accepted as a natural human understanding that separates human life from, say, an unregulated animal life. However, when one does upasana and goes very deep, and this is, I mention this with a lot of caveat because this can be misunderstood also, at one stage that comes where human morality is transcended. That's very rare, but that happens. So basically, human morality and in fact, Sri Aurobindo actually writes beautifully on this. His writings are wonderful. I mean, there's no topic on which he has not written. He's the boss, so far as I am concerned. So he writes about this. Once you go into the realm of the deities, actually go into the realm of the deities, the human law of morality changes into another law of the divine. And according to that law, the individual will live. But remember, the caveat has to be there. Till one has not reached that realm, so there is always a law that is needed to govern an individual. And till one has not reached to the realm of the Devata and connected to the deity, it is very important to follow the average codes of existence and morality that is present in society. Once that comes in, that is very different. That rules away. That is where the Charam sloka of the Gita, where Bhagavan says that Sarva Dharma Parityajya, that comes there. But that cannot be step one. If one tries to go into step one, he will completely fall and destroy himself and destroy others. So initially the moral codes have to be followed. Once there's a transformation, then automatically those things will happen. That's a very high stage.
Hello. Anybody else?
Sir.
Yeah. दादा आपको कोटि कोटि प्रणाम.
Just a second. Please, somebody from the mic team, one who is selected to ask the question, he should only get the questions. We have limited time, and I appreciate the cooperation and patience of all the audiences. One who I select should get the mic, should ask the question. Once the question is done, the mic should be taken from him. And the only one who is selected, he should be given the mic. Please take care of this.
Dada, my question is on, you post, myself Deepraj Singh. My question is on, you posted a video on YouTube 4 months back on Shivratri. You told that if someone has done more, few amount, means lakhs of japs of simple Nama mantra, so the next step, the sort of next step is Trishul sadhana. You told to purchase a 6-inch or 8-inch Trishul and do Rudrabhishekam on Shivratri. So what next? I want to know what to do with the Trishul and how to cater it, and what is the procedure to do and what are rules to do.
Good. So just to clarify here, when I had mentioned the Trishul sadhana, what I had mentioned is, so not specifically Rudrabhishekam, what you do is that you have the Trishula, you do Abhishekam with Bhairava Stutis. Okay. So if you're doing, say, even the Kal Bhairava Ashtakam, you do Abhishekam of it. The more you keep doing Abhishekam of it, the Trishula itself will start accumulating some divine energy. Fir you worship that. So the question is, what after that? Means you are assuming that you have completed the full steps of the sadhana. No. So the sadhana is itself long. So you keep doing that. You keep doing, consider that as the Devata. Okay. And you keep doing your Abhishekam of the Trishul, you do a japa on the Trishul, etc. Jo bhi hai. As you keep doing it, the Trishul itself will acquire a certain degree of spiritual power. And once that power, spiritual power comes, it will start reflecting in your life itself. So basically, it's not just a Trishul to keep and for decoration purposes. Whenever you have even for a Vigraha, if you have a Vigraha, so one of the primary sevas of the Vigraha is Abhishekam of the Vigraha is important. Once you do Abhishekam of Vigrahas, it cleanses your soul. Abhishekam requires, so some amount of time has to be given, say once a week, or if you can do, I mean, if you have time to do every day, very good, but you, in a busy schedule, it's not possible. So once a week you do. And Abhishekam with Panchamrita, so fruit juice, etc. Various other things are mentioned. You can do Abhishekam with that. So as you keep doing the Abhishekam of the Trishula, you also keep chanting Stutis of Bhairava. If nothing else, just Om Bhairavayanam also, if you keep doing it, it will start acquiring a certain degree of spiritual power and energy. That is the aim. And that itself will slowly take you forward.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Gentleman in the first row.
Hello, Dada, and thank you for Harshji for asking such wonderful questions. According to me, this is the best podcast on the internet. Dada, pranam aapko. I've been doing Bhairav Sadhana 7 months unbroken, and aapse ek sawal puchna tha. One of your videos mentions that if you look at somebody's hands, even in a group of 100 people, you will be able to tell that that person is meant for Shakti Upasana. I would just like to show my hand if possible. No problem. Thank you.
By the way, when I said that, Actually, when I said that, I didn't mean looking at the palm.
Okay.
Just this you can make out. But all that is, this अपने आप से होगा बाद में ये सब. It's a different matter. Just so what I mentioned while speaking, for example, I can mention very complicated sadhanas. For example, I mentioned while talking, I mentioned about Kubjika Devi, right? नवात्मन भैरव. इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि कल एक आजकल तो सब कुछ मिल जाता है. You bring a विग्रह of Kubjika and फिर बस क्या करना है पता नहीं है और फिर 10 मेल करते रहो कि अभी क्या करना है. कुछ नहीं करना है. So do as much as you can do. Just because I say something does not mean it has to be done. If it has to be done, I will tell you clearly this has to be done. And this beautiful principle, by the way, if you, those who are interested, our dharma is so vast and fantastic. If you read the methods of the interpretation of the Vedas, that is the most complicated part of the Vedic religion, by the way. If you ask me, much complicated than even the Vedanta. That is where the real comes in, real analysis comes in, and great masters have done it. So they used to have this rule, from the Jaimini Sutras and their, on the Vyakhyan of that and the analysis of that, how to go about. One rule they used to have in the Vedas, while interpreting the Vedas, how does the Veda become a Paurusha, says that when there is a grammatical injunction or something like a verb there, कि ये चीज करना है, सुबह उठ के गायत्री मंत्र जप करना है, do that. Where there is a description, whether you understand or not, you leave that aside. First, do what is to be done by the Vedas are saying. So same way, when I am saying that you do this, only do that. Rest of the description, either ka story, listen to it, don't execute that.
Thank you, Dada.
Sir, you mentioned that this was one of the best podcasts. Yours was the best question. Thank you for bringing laughter on all our faces. The lady there at the last.
Thank you, sir.
We'll come to you. We'll come to you. Don't worry, we'll come to you.
My name is Anjali, sir. I have started Bhairava Upasana from last 5 months. From 1 month I am doing consistently. With lack of knowledge, I have started Batuk Bhairav by stopping Bhairav Nam Japa. Recently, when I saw your recent YouTube video, I came to know that we have to do Bhairav Nam Japa along with Batuk Bhairav Nam Japa. So what would you suggest me now to do? Should I continue both or should I stop Batuk and do only Bhairav? Both.
Continue both, divide the time as per your convenience.
Okay, one more question, sir. Sometimes every day my mind wants to do the japa continuously, but sometimes when I start and sit, due to some physical problems or some thoughts will disturb my sadhana. So there are any healing, there are any crystals or any malas which will support and increase our concentration?
No, there is no specific one-stop answer to this, because why concentration gets disturbed depends on individual to individual. But one is if you start doing, so what mala you are using? Rudraksha?
No, normal mala, sir.
What is normal mala?
Tulsi mala.
So you are doing Vatuk Bhairav and Tulsi mala? That is very rare.
Yeah, that's due to lack of.
No, that's okay. There's no problem in not knowing. There's no harm in it also. Okay. It's just that I don't know if it will give a result or not. I have never done it myself, but it's better to start doing get a Sphatik mala, and start doing sadhana with that. And if you think that that's a general thing for anybody, if there's a lack of concentration in the mind and the mind gets very disturbed, it's an excellent idea that to worship Lord Shiva on Mondays with Abhishekam. If you don't have the Shivalinga at home, go to any Shiva temple, pour water, pour one Belpatra, and you sit and do the 1,000 names of Shiva. 3 months if you do, it is impossible that your mind will not calm down. It is like it's a remedy it's a thing that always works. 3 months, 1,000 names of Shiva every Monday, but you have to pour some water on the Shivalinga, any Shivalinga in any temple, and then sit down and calmly do that. Do it for 3 months, you will see that there's a remarkable change in the mind and thoughts.
Thank you, sir. I'm asking about malas because recently I came to know about Karangali mala, which will help increase concentration.
Don't go into that right now. That is very powerful. Okay.
Okay.
At the initial stages, don't focus too much into these key, what mala I'm using and all that. Focus first on doing the japa. Okay. All these have this, uh, uh, all have their own processes and there are various things. So, but main thing is that your japa has to go to a certain depth. Only then what mala you are wearing, what dress you are wearing, which direction you are sitting, all this will make sense after that.
Thank you so much.
We'll take two more questions. I'm really sorry. I see that you have questions. We'll try to come back with another program. Maybe we'll have sir again if he permits with Baba's grace.
Good evening, Dada.
Sorry, sir. You have not been asked to. No, sorry. I'm sorry. No, please take the mic from the gentleman. Lady, she. You can give it. Yeah, lady.
She
Yes.
only told.
Lady, you just next right to her. Yes.
That is my brother, so he'll be asking a question on behalf of me. He's like my guru. Thank you.
Please ask both. Please ask your question also and his question also.
Thank you. So, Dada, this is the family coming from Bangalore. I call this conference as a resurgence. I'll tell you why. I think the last 20 years, I'm sure I've traveled to many, many locations for business meetings, client meetings, to talk about AI and many, many things. I think the first time we all came together to talk about Baba, Bhaira Baba, thank you. Thank you for the influence. That's one. That acknowledgement tells it's just not my, that's not just my feeling. Everybody here have traveled for something to discover themselves, and I'm glad it is called Resurgence of Sanatana. One. Second reason, today I learned two things. One is Purush Charan and Anushtana. I think Google is highly abused. There's so much details that come out. A layman like me does not know what is right, what is wrong. So to this group, Harsh, thanks for putting together such a fantastic event, and you, Dada. I'm sure if this group has traveled all over India to meet you in person, I think there's some sense of seriousness. How can Dada, you and Harsh as a group together help this group of serious seekers to tell us about what is the standard academic test that we should follow when we want to do Anushtana? And what is there a standard text that we should buy or we should seek or go to when we want to do Purush Charan? I am asking this question, maybe all of you are able to relate that, because Google has everything and we are very ignorant. So please help us one step further. How can we come closer to you? How can we become one step Shishyas closer beyond YouTube? And last but not the least, thanks for creating so many Ekalavyas. I'll tell you why. I bumped into your video at one of the lowest phase of my life. And today, about 7 months, I have a daughter who's sitting next to me who's 10-year-old, does not go to bed without doing one mala. And that's the level. So that's the level. I mean, today you're talking about 1 crore mala on a Ashtami, but 1 crore into 10 or 20 is happening, which is not getting recorded. So can you please help us? How can we get closer to what is Anushtana? Is there a standard academic that we can buy? And how do we do Purush Charan? With that, thank you so much for making time for us here. A big round of applause from all of us to you, because this is the last second question for the evening.
Before I go into Purush Charan and Anushtana, what you mentioned specifically, my mailbox is permanently flooded, so I just open it to put mails into spam. Most of the time I don't read them because I don't have the bandwidth and the time. But the truth is, and it's since the time this Om Bhairavaya Nama Japa thing started, and it started very casually, by the way. I had no plans that it will go to this. Just an inspiration came. I told a few people around me, let's do it on Ashtamis. Aise karte hain. Then one thing led to other, it kept spreading. I have seen enough number of people who have had a similar experience, that they had somehow or the other come to this japa at a time when things were little difficult in their lives, and somehow this acted like a boat to carry them through that phase. into something stronger and something more stable and something which is that, it becomes something very personal. Enough number of times I've seen that. I mean, I have stopped being, feeling wondrous about it also. So let me clarify this very clearly, and I've told this many times. It's wonderful that you think that you are Ekalavya. I am not a guru. All these things that has happened is entirely because of the will of Bhairava. At best, I have been a medium, and like you feel that this mantra has changed, many others have changed. Every time I hear this, I feel wondrous, and I feel reverence for Bhairava. If I have to be dishonest, I'll tell that, oh, when I started this, I had full idea कि ऐसे वाला होने वाला. No idea I had, zero. ये आज 1 करोड़ हो रहा है, इसका भी कुछ idea नहीं था. Casually things happen. On its own, organically it spread, which now makes me feel completely, when I sit in meditation, that this is being governed by forces far more powerful, competent and reliable than me, and they will take it to the right conclusion. So इसमें मेरा कोई प्रश्न नहीं है. एक आध 3-4 महीने में एक वीडियो डाल दूंगा बस, things will go on its own. So that's all wonderful. So it is Bhairava who is doing it. It is entirely Bhairava, and not just him. It is the other deities will also come into play. Ma Kamakhya and Ma Tara. These three have made a very fantastic khichdi in India, and there will be lots and lots of people who will keep doing this japa automatically in the coming years. All their powers are involved in this, some or the other, in some senses. Now coming to the question of Anushthan and Purushcharana, you can sit down, it's okay. You don't have to keep standing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you won't find any text that defines Anushthan. You will find texts that speak of Purushcharana. There are many tantric texts. This term is used in Tantra Sadhana very widely. Mantra Purushcharana is the term that is used. There are beautiful and powerful texts on Mantra Purushcharana, specifically compiled from all the Tantras, but that is not something I would recommend you to read, because Tantras are like technical manuals of sadhana. Tantras are not like Puranas. So they will not tell you a story, they will jump straight into the sadhana, that this is the deity, this is the uddhara of the mantra, this is the nyasa, this is this, that, this is how you sit and all that, very technical things. So unless you have a familiarity with that kind of knowledge, it will be difficult to do. Now before going to that, I'll tell you the basic idea of Purushcharana, and this is an important thing I've mentioned earlier also, is the idea of activating the mantra through all the 5 tattvas. So basically what someone does is that you first take a sankalpa. Sankalpa is important. Without sankalpa, the pressure, the reality doesn't hit in. Without sankalpa, you can do as much as you want. But when you're doing a Purushcharana, you have to take a sankalpa. Sankalpa means you tell the devata that I want to do, मुझे 1 lakh, 1.25 lakh का जप किया जाता है. 1.25 lakh means 1.25, because it's assumed that 25% of your japa you did not have concentration. So therefore 1 lakh plus some more extra has to be done. Now while doing that, you already mention and calculate that how many days it will take. Say it may take you and what I'm talking about is a very theoretical level thing. Don't try to imitate this just by hearing what I'm saying. This is for your understanding. Okay. So there are an average competent mantropasak can complete a Trakshari mantra, 1.25 lakh japa in 5 days, 5 to 6 days. It's possible, not impossible. And I'm saying an average caliber, decent upasaka. So after that, when you do the sankalpa, you have to mention how many days it will take, how much japa you have to do, and etc. All that thing, and why you are doing it. So now, initially you start with this, that I'm doing it for the priti or the anugraha of the devata. So so that the deity is pleased with me. So after you complete the japa, then you do 1/10 of the japa into fire, which is homa. Dashangsh havan, 1/10 of the mantra japa you have done. Then 1/10 of that you have to do tarpana. Then 1/10 of that you have to do marjana. Marjana, abhishekam. Abhishekam, that there are some small changes in that. And then 1/10 of that into bhojanam, feeding people appropriate to that devata. And if you don't find people appropriate, you can feed people either in a Veda Pathshala, or there is another rare system which is called the Kola Bhojan, but we'll not go into that now. So once this whole process is done, the mantra gets working through first when you're doing japa, it is the Vayu Tattva, because you are constantly chanting it, right? Then it goes through the Agni Tattva, then it will go through the Jal Tattva, Prithvi Tattva, and finally the Bhojan is mandatory because it eliminates any doshas while you are doing the sadhana. if you had incurred any kind of errors, any mistakes, feeding specific people, and if nothing else, you feed in South. So Ved Pathshala is a very good place to do bhojanam, because there are people who are already doing there. There are children or those who are chanting the Vedas. So there is a mantra shakti in them. There is some shakti in them. So when you feed those people who have shakti already in them, it automatically removes any errors that you might have incurred in the process. So this completes one Purushcharana. It is to be done in a very technical manner. So whether you have bhakti or not doesn't matter. You follow the step. Once the sankalpa is done, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps completed. Wait for some days. Like this, if you keep doing Purushcharana, the mantra becomes extremely energized and starts showing results around you in a very unmistakable way. Purushcharana results are unmistakable. You will have no doubts after that. But just by hearing what I said, you cannot replicate that. Maybe in coming times I'll ask my team to prepare certain documents for smaller anushtanas. There are some people whom I they're not really my disciples or anything. They do sadhanas, sometimes I guide them. So they do anushtanas and all that. Maybe we'll prepare some documents and we'll see for larger people. But anushtanas to be tried only when you have done the sadhana for some period of time. It's not like you on day one you start an anushtana. Anushtana is the shorter version of a Purushcharana. A Purushcharana is technically 1.25 lakh jap, minimum. And beyond that also, you can keep doing more and more as you want. And Anushtana can be smaller one also. See, there are certain Nath Sampradayas where they do Laghu Anushtan, smaller Anushtan. Instead of 1 lakh, they will say, for once, there's some matter was going on, so I needed to do a Vatuk Bhairava Laghu Anushtan. So 240 malas of japa I did in a specific, I did a Vatuk Bhairava puja, took a sankalpa that I have to do 240 malas in so many days. Each day, X number of malas, same time I will sit, same dress I will wear, same ingredients I will use in the puja. Then the Anushtan, the japa gets over, do a puja of Vatuk Bhairava, do 1/10 homa. 1/10 homa is 24 malas, 1/10 of 240. Then do Tarpan, Marjan, Bhojan, etc. Everything. It was, and within almost a month, for the purpose what I had done, started showing its effects and results. That is a Laghu Anushtan. So maybe in time I'll make some documents on that so it's easier for people to follow.
The last question of the day. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, it's a very tough task on me to select one out of so many hands I can see, and I understand that all the questions are important. I see this girl, she has raised her hand quite a long time. Please give the opportunity to her.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I'm Rucha. I'm from Pune. I'm doing Bhairav Sadhana since 5 months. And while doing sadhana, I'm having involuntary body movements which are quite intense, like spinning of the head or vibrations in a head or in hand, which are quite intense, and it hurts sometimes, especially on a Purnima days. Or now I'm in Kashi and I'm doing sadhana. It is happening more intensely. So what is the reason behind it, or shall I try to continue it like that, or shall I try to stop it?
How long have you been doing?
5 months.
5 months. So first thing is that you reduce the count of Bhairava Japa you are doing, or any sadhana for that matter. Okay. Number one. Number two is that there will be certain conditions in the grahas which causes this. Those have to be rectified separately. And for any japa, any intense sadhana, so there are other factors involved in this. It's not due to the japa, but the japa Shakti is accelerating this. So those remedial measures have to be done. For that you will have to actually go to a competent astrologer and see what remedial measures need to be done. Till that time, I would suggest that don't intensify japa. Keep it at a pace that is easy to do. Little bit. Even if you do 1 mala, that is fine. Don't intensify it too much. Okay. You will have lot of spiritual experiences. But spirituality is not only having experiences, it is able to digest the experience. So there, because of certain other factors, as I mentioned, it's good to so this solution cannot be given like this. I would suggest that you visit a competent astrologer. See, there will be certain things which may require certain remedial measures to be done. Once that is done, eventually this thing will come under control. For now, what you do is you reduce the japa. Whenever this thing happens, you reduce the japa.
Sir, I do one mala only and I do Kal Bhairav Ashtak.
How many times?
Just once a day.
So normally if you do one mala of the mantra and one Kal Bhairav Ashtak, the reaction that you're facing is not likely to happen because of that. But that is why I'm saying that there is some other factor that is involved in this. And in order to go into an analysis of that, it will require, more deliberation and thought into it. It cannot be done obviously in an open forum like this. So I seriously suggest that you visit a competent astrologer and see what are the doshas that need to be rectified. And if you think that even this one mala is causing it, then reduce it. Reduce the japa, don't do one mala, do 21 times. That's it. Just 21 times, okay? And do not take too much of stress into the Bhairava japa. There could be other factors involved in this. So you definitely should visit somebody who knows Jyotisha properly, with whom you can discuss this, who can see what remedial measures need to be done separate from the sadhana. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, sir. My job was very easy to put up questions to you. My job was very easy to ask or shoot questions at you, but you have explained them in the most beautiful way, and I'm very much sure that this entire discussion and conversation, it will help out a lot of people. In fact, even if one person is benefited out of it, the entire program is success for me. And I, from the bottom of my heart, I extend my thanks on behalf of all the family of Kashi Archan Foundation, to all the devotees, to all the guests who made it here from different parts of India, some from even across the globe. Thank you so much for taking out the time and coming to this event, which was just based on a common and a very notional and a very devotional theme of Devata Anubhuti, a common sankalp of Devata Anubhuti, which was there instilled in the minds and hearts of all those people who made it here. Thank you so much to everyone. Thank you. A formal thank you is needed to the entire team, staff, cameramen, all those who've been behind this event and have helped in this smooth conduct of all the operations here. My sincere gratitude and thanks to everyone. One of the takeaways for me from this conversation was the gentleman mentioned that the 10-year-old girl does not go to sleep without doing the Om Bhairavaya Namah. I was also very touched when I heard it for the first time. And also the initial performance of the Kal Bhairavashtakam by the young boy today also touched my heart. And I believe that this conversation will go to a lot of young minds, young people who are needed to be aware and encouraged about our Sanatan Dharma, our traditional roots, and be in this spiritually enlightened land as the most important and most powerful assets, the youth, which is the asset, the most important asset for our Sanatan Dharma, which can propel and take our ethos to next generation even more beautifully than received by us. In this note, sir, I would request if you can facilitate the boy who performed the Kal Bhairavashtakam with a small memento. Sakshat Batuk Bhairav Swarup. Thank you so much again to the audience for your cooperation today. I'll invite Nitika ji to come on the stage and take over the event from here.
It It was indeed an enlightening experience here. Thank you, sir, for providing us solutions to the questions on our quest to divine, and thank you, Harshji, for making it possible for us. This event of Devata Anubhuti has been sponsored by Kashi Archan Foundation. There are brochures provided on your tables where various activities are enlisted taken up by Kashi Archan Foundation. If you wish to make a voluntary donation or contribute to their cause, kindly refer to the backside of the brochures. There are help desks outside where our volunteers are eager to help you. Please make sure to join us for dinner before leaving. Wishing you all a blissful journey for the Devta Anubhuti, and may we all join our hands and efforts for Dharm Raksha taken up by Kamakhya Bhairav Foundation, initiated by Rajarshi Nandi sir. Thank you so much for joining us today. Har Har Mahadev.
Namah Parvati Pate Har Har Mahadev.